Chapter 727. You will all become the nutrients for this swamp land. As the four were talking, the 5-meter-tall, brown-green Swamp King jumped up into the air. Its water tank-sized fist tore open the air and threw out a punch. Boom! Qing Liu took on the punch head-on, her body sliding backward. Since there is no other way, then I will hold it off. You guys leave the swamp land immediately. The Swamp King was very powerful, and Qing Liu thought that she would be weaker than it. Plus, with her immortal body and endless power source, she would have to hold it off by herself. Even Yi Chen would not be able to do it. Teacher. Yang Fengfeng looked worried. Qing Liu said, "Don't worry, without you guys here, I will have a higher chance of escaping. Yi Chen, protect the two." She believed in Yi Chen's ability to survive. Yes. Yi Chen nodded. He said to Yang Fengfeng and Murong Qingcheng, "Let's go. We should not add more pressure to senior Qing Liu." Yang Fengfeng and Murong Qingcheng knew that Yi Chen was right. If they stayed, they would not be able to do anything. So, leaving as soon as possible would be the best solution. Shoo! The three started to run toward the front. "Do you think you can leave?" The Swamp King's body merged into the swampland. When it reappeared, it was already in front of Yi Chen and the other two. Woo! Right when the Swamp King was about to attack, a blurry light door appeared. Qing Liu flew out from inside, blowing away the opponent with one palm attack. "Let's go!" Qing Liu yelled. "Let's go!" The three did not have any extra thoughts as they flew at full speed. "All right, I will take care of you first, then take care of them." The Swamp King's green gem-like pupils shone with a cold light. He reached out his hand into the air and said with a low voice, "Swamp Fountain." Boom! Within 100 miles radius, the swamp land started to shake. The next second, 100 meters thick fountain exploded under Qing Liu. The earth power and water power interweaved together. Landing print. Qing Liu looked serious as she pressed down with her palm. Rumble. The fountain was blocked by the crystal palm print. "With your strength, you can't do anything to me." The Swamp King's power was only slightly higher than Qing Liu's. If it were not for the fact that she was afraid of his immortal body and endless power, Qing Liu would have joined hands with Yi Chen to wound him. There was no need for her to run away. "That's right. With my current strength, I can't do anything to you." The Swamp King stopped attacking and stood on the swamp. "However, this is not my true strength." Voila! With that, the Swamp King's body melted into the swamp. Qing Liu frowned. She could not understand what he was trying to do. Soon, Qing Liu noticed the change in the swamp. The color of the swamp was fading at a speed visible to the naked eye, as if something was extracting the essence and energy of the swamp, leaving behind only mud. "This is my true strength." A pile of green shadow jumped out from the swamp, throwing a punch towards Qing Liu. There was no time to dodge or block. All Qing Liu could do was cross her hands and block the attack. Crack! Her protective Jin Yuan was shattered instantly. The sound of metal twisting was heard. The top-rank armor on Qing Liu's arm had been completely destroyed, and her bones had broken as well. It looked like it was going to break at any second. She herself looked like she was struck by lightning. Her body was blown backward uncontrollably, crashing into the black rocks on top, shattering a black stalactite into pieces. Pooh! Puking out a huge amount of blood, Qing Liu, who had sunk into the black rocks, looked down with shock. The Swamp King's power was even more powerful than before, at least twice as powerful. If before, Qing Liu was only slightly weaker than the Swamp King, then right now, even 5 of her would not be able to beat it. "How is it?" "My power." The Swamp King, who was standing on the swamp, had a huge change. His height had dropped from 5 meters to 3.5 meters, and his color had changed from brown-green to dark green. The biggest change was not the height or the color, but the nature of his body. His body looked like it was made out of green crystal. Green liquid kept coming out of his body, flowing downwards. When it reached the bottom of his feet, it went back into his body again. "I see. Before, it was just another form of yours, right?" Flying out of the pit, Qing Liu swallowed a pellet. As the medicinal power spread out, Qing Liu's wounds recovered quickly. Her broken bones had also reconnected. It was a semi-extreme rank healing pellet, which was extremely valuable. Not bad. The Swamp King opened his crystal-like mouth. There were no teeth inside, only green sticky liquid. 2 forms. The first form allowed you to never be killed in the swampland, but your power was on the weaker side. The second form increased your power, but gave your undying body a weakness. As long as I use up your power, the undying body would be useless. Qing Liu did not lose her cool as she analyzed. You are very smart. But do you think you can use up my power? The Swamp King was not worried at all. In the other form, his power was endless. As long as the swampland was not destroyed, he would not be destroyed either. Right now, although his power had been reduced, it was still dozens of times more powerful than normal half-step king warriors. For her to be able to use up 1/10 of his power was already impressive enough. How would you know without trying? A light flashed once and a huge hammer appeared in Qing Liu's hand. It was square-shaped and extremely heavy, so heavy that even the air could not move. Woo! A blurry light door appeared in front of the Swamp King. Qing Liu took a step forward and threw out a hammer attack onto the Swamp King's chest. The power pattern spread out. A shocking loud sound exploded. Half of the Swamp King's body had been shattered, disappearing in the wind. How is my attacking power? Qing Liu waved her hammer again, shattering the other half of the Swamp King's body as well. It was extremely horrifying. What kind of weapon is this? Hundreds of meters away, the body of the Swamp King reappeared. However, it seemed that the qi was a lot weaker than before. It was only 1/5 of his original power. Qing Liu's 2 hammers had consumed 1/5 of his power, which was unbelievable and incomprehensible. You can call it a pseudo-extreme rank item. Qing Liu breathed heavily. She hurried to swallow a semi-extreme rank pellet to replenish her Jin Yuan, then took a bite of a water yuan fruit to nourish her body. The hammer in her hand was called the Square Sky Hammer, which was even more powerful than a semi-extreme rank item. A pseudo-extreme rank item was actually an extreme rank item, because it was the worst of the extreme rank items. Just like an extreme rank item, a pseudo-extreme rank item was like a black hole that devoured Jin Yuan. With Qing Liu's demi-king warrior cultivation, 2 hammer attacks had already used up 2/3 of her Jin Yuan. Pseudo-extreme rank item. Although the Swamp King was a swamp creature, it did not mean that he had low intelligence. The hammer in Qing Liu's hand could already threaten him. Although he could recover to his first level anytime, but it was obvious that he could not kill her. Indeed, now I can go, right? Qing Liu did not care about the Swamp King's attitude. Her body flashed and shot out. I hope not everyone who comes in has a pseudo-extreme rank item. The Swamp King stood on the swamp ground and did not chase after Qing Liu. I think we can work together to take him on. In the sky above the jungle, there was an endless dark shadow ghost bats. In the center, the skinny elder, the young man, Hawk, Iron Hands, and a dozen other people were trapped here. Their opponents were not only a large number of dark shadow ghost bats, but also a terrifying dark shadow ghost bat king. The Bat King was way more powerful than any of them. 1-on-1, 2-on-1, they would not be able to take it on. 3-on-1, they could only barely keep themselves from losing. This shadow ghost Bat King was terrifyingly powerful. It had the power to beat normal demi-king warriors. Indeed, we should work together. The Iron Hand King looked serious. If it were not for the skinny elder and Hawk, he would not be able to take on the Bat King by himself. If they wanted to survive, they would have to work together. Brat, wait until I kill him, then I will take care of you. The muscles on Hawk's body expanded. A massive demonic bull shadow stood behind him. With a casual punch, a huge amount of ghost bats would be shattered into pieces. The power of the bull family was not something to joke about. I will wait for you. The young man's body was covered in twisted symbols. The ghost bats that were attacking him were blown away. Kill me. Hee hee. The Bat King revealed a horrifying smile. You guys, release the berserk aura together. The Bat King ordered the leader of the bats that were hiding in the dark. Yes, King. Woo. 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 Waves of vibrations spread out as 4 to 5 black berserk auras enveloped everyone, covering a radius of several miles. Roar. A roar was heard. Apart from the skinny elder, the young man, Hawk, and the Iron Hand King, who had escaped from the berserk aura, the others had all fallen into madness and started to kill each other. Soon, besides these four, everyone else had been killed. Bastard, die. Hawk and the Iron Hand King were furious. These were all the top master-level warriors of the Bull family and the Gu family, the pillars of their families. Even one death was not a small matter, let alone all of them dying in battle. Demon Bull roar. Hawk opened his mouth and roared. The sound wave spread out. With him as the center, all of the ghost bats within miles exploded into pieces. The ones that were miles away were slowed down and fell down. In terms of battling power, Hawk was indeed not as powerful as the Iron Hand King and the Skinny Elder. But in terms of pure power, he was the best out of the three. You are looking for death. The Bat King was furious. Black Chi surged out as he rushed towards Hawk. You are the one who will die. The Iron Hand King reached out his hand and grabbed in the air. The huge iron hand was about to close up and crush the Bat King. Shoo! The Bat King's speed increased again, and the huge iron hand was left behind. Fang of the storm! A violent storm appeared out of nowhere. Countless crescent-shaped wind blades spread out, covering the Bat King within and sweeping across the sky. Squeak! Squeak! The Shadow Ghost Bat King's attack scared the four of them. A huge amount of black smoke came out of its body. Countless black bats spread out in all directions. One of them was like an army of bats. Even the Shadow Ghost bats around were pushed far away. Ah! Demon Bull roar! Huoku's body was covered with bats. These bats had their teeth embedded in his body and were sucking his flesh and blood. Huoku roared and shattered a large number of bats. Unfortunately, there were too many bats. Even more bats pounced on him and drilled into his body. In the blink of an eye, Huoku was sucked dry. A grand half-step demonic king had died in an instant. So delicious. The bats merged into one and the Bat King's body appeared. He licked the blood stain on his lips. Chapter 728. Fuck. What the hell is this guy? Iron Hand King's hair stood on end. In terms of battle strength, although Umbra Ghost Bat King was powerful, it was not beyond his imagination. It was close to peak half-step kings. However, Umbra Ghost Bat King had too many tricks up his sleeves. His speed was fast, and his attacks were endless. Even a half-step king of the same level was not his opponent. Sooner or later, they would be killed and sucked dry. The only thing we can do now is to escape. The skinny old man's expression was grave. Old Fong, you run first. I'll catch up later. The young man seemed very calm, as if he had something to rely on. Then be careful. The skinny old man was not too worried about the young man. The latter was not an ordinary person. Although his battle strength was far from Umbra Ghost Bat King's, his survivability was definitely above his. I will. As he spoke, the twisting symbols around the young man's body increased by several folds. They were densely packed and layered, wrapping around him layer after layer. It was as if he was a huge ball made of countless symbols, revolving unceasingly. Wind escape. Huff. The skinny old man's figure disappeared with the wind as if he had become one with it. He was the wind, and the wind was him. Iron Hand King saw the skinny old man leave while the young man stood there motionlessly. His eyes flickered, and he turned into a beam of metal light and shot out. Peng! A huge sound echoed. Umbra Ghost Bat King saw through Iron Hand King's intention and chased after him, slashing at Iron Hand King's protective Jin Yuan. Surprisingly, Iron Hand King's protective Jin Yuan was extremely sturdy, and was not broken. You can't kill me. Iron Hand King swallowed a pill and continued to escape. Peng 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 peng. A series of explosions rang out as Iron Hand King tumbled around in the air. His protective Jin Yuan was not broken at all. If one observed carefully, one would notice that his protective Jin Yuan was different from other people's oval-shaped protective Jin Yuan. It was an armor-shaped protective Jin Yuan, and this armor-shaped protective Jin Yuan came from Iron Hand King's armor. Defensive artifact. Umbra Ghost Bat King saw the problem. Not bad. Iron Hand King chuckled. The armor on his body had a great origin. It was the only pseudo-supreme grade defensive artifact of the GU family, called the Green Origin Armor. With it, as long as his Jin Yuan hadn't been exhausted, his defense would be unbreakable. Origin Array Technique. The Jin Yuan outside Iron Hand King's body burned fiercely as he continued flying. This wasn't the end. Burning Jin Yuan was something an astral-reaching expert could grasp. The frightening part of the Origin arrangement art was that it could burn in layers. The first layer only increased his speed, the second layer increased his speed by 30%, and the third layer increased his speed by 30% on top of the second layer. With a swish, the Iron Hand King turned into a ray of light and instantly left the ghost Shadow Bat King behind. Oh, there's actually such a method of escape. Fine, I'll let the Swamp King deal with you while I take care of the first checkpoint. It wasn't that the Shadow Ghost Bat King couldn't catch up with the Iron Hand King, but he didn't think it was necessary. He had a feeling that more and more people would enter the underground world, and all he needed to do was wait. Why aren't you running? The Shadow Ghost Bat King looked at the young man who was wrapped in the rune ball strangely. You think I can outrun you? The young man asked. That's true. Then are you willing to surrender? The Shadow Ghost Bat King wasn't interested in the young man at all. The latter's blood and flesh essence was far less than a half-step king warrior, but he could give it to his subordinates. No, I will trap you first, then I will leave. 1,000 symbol array. The young man gave a thunderous roar. The large spell symbol sphere around his body expanded, turning into a hollow sphere with a radius of a few miles. Those twisted spell symbols stuck on the outside of the hollow sphere, moving along the sphere in a regular pattern. Countless twisted light patterns connected with each other, looking seamless and seamless. Shoo. After doing all this, the young man's body sank down and appeared outside of the hollow ball, running toward the direction where the skinny elder had left. The Shadow Ghost Bat King's eyes were extremely cold. His body flashed once, trying to chase after the young man. Boom. The symbols on the hollow ball all shone with a bright light, bouncing the Shadow Ghost Bat King back. Break for me. The Shadow Ghost Bat King's expression changed. The opponent was only a peak-level late C of Soul's Realm Ant, but he could use his own power to set up such a powerful array, which made him quite surprised and angry. Boom. The hollow ball made of symbols shook a bit, stopping the Shadow Ghost Bat King's second attack. Boom. Boom. On top of the cliff, a human figure shot out toward the direction of the huge ball. The tomb of the 4 Extreme Emperor is right here? The man who was talking to himself carried a battle blade on his back. His metal armor was exposed without any clothes covering it. If there were any human half-step king warriors here, they would be able to recognize him for sure. It was indeed one of the most powerful half-step king warriors, the Thunder Spirit King. It seems like a lot of people have already made it in. The Thunder Spirit King heard the commotion in front of him, but he looked calm. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Tens of miles flashed past within a second, and the Thunder Spirit King saw the source of the noise. In front of those huge bats, a huge ball made of spell symbols exploded with a boom. A human-shaped bat with a muscular body walked out, looking at him with a pair of cold eyes. Another human half-step king warrior. My luck is indeed not bad. The Shadow Ghost Bat King licked his lips. The anger from before had disappeared completely. Nothing could be more exciting than having food delivered to one's doorstep. I am afraid that your luck is just bad luck. The Thunder Spirit King scanned around, his eyes filled with thunder and lightning. Little ones, get him. The Shadow Ghost Bat King could tell that the Thunder Spirit King was not a normal warrior, so he planned to let his bats surround him first before making his move. Shoo, 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 shoo. Countless dark shadow ghost bats flew towards the Thunder Spirit King. Die. Using his right palm as a blade, the Thunder Spirit King spat out one word softly before throwing out a palm blade attack. Whoosh. The thunder blade light flashed once before disappearing, and all of the incoming ghost bats were destroyed. Looking from afar, it was like a black wave had been cut in half by a blade attack. The Shadow Ghost Bat King's pupils shrunk into 2 dots as it was shocked beyond belief. Perhaps you can play with me for a bit. The Thunder Spirit King looked at the Shadow Ghost Bat King. Don't be so arrogant. The Shadow Ghost Bat King screamed and jumped toward the Thunder Spirit King at an extreme speed. Piss off. Facing the Shadow Ghost Bat King's aggressive attack, the Thunder Spirit King still threw out a palm blade attack. Swoosh. Dark blood splashed everywhere. The Shadow Ghost Bat King's right shoulder to the left side of its abdomen had been cut by the blade light. Its whole body was almost cut in half, and even the bones and organs could be seen. Boom. The Shadow Ghost Bat King showed up at its original position. It looked down at its chest, then looked at the Thunder Spirit King. There was a hint of fear in its cold eyes. Although its power had not recovered to its peak yet, it was at least 80 to 90% of its peak power. However, his opponent did not even take out his blade, and only one palm blade attack had almost cut it into pieces. With this kind of power, even if it was at its peak, it would not dare to say that it could win. The flesh and blood of the Shadow Ghost Bat King wriggled, and the wound on its body started to close up. There was no sign of it being wounded at all. This was the special ability of the Shadow Ghost Bat King, and it had nothing to do with its immortal body. Oh. You are qualified to make me take out my blade a bit. The Thunder Spirit King held the handle of the blade on his back with his right hand and slowly took it out. The blade light was cold, and the blade was extremely sharp. A bright electric arc flashed through the blade. You can pass. The Shadow Ghost Bat King screamed and tried to escape. What kind of joke was this? His opponent had almost killed him without even taking out his blade. If he took out his blade, he would definitely die, or even die without a doubt. He had not lived long enough, at least not now. Of course, when he recovered to his peak, he would find his opponent to take revenge. Before he recovered to his peak, he would have to lower his noble head. If the Iron Hand King were here, he would definitely be shocked. This Ghost Shadow Bat King had killed many of them, and some of them had escaped. In terms of power, it was already close to or equivalent to a top half-step king warrior, and yet, it was scared to this extent. Just how powerful was the Thunder Spirit King? Very well. Putting his blade back into the scabbard, the Thunder Spirit King did not take a detour, but shot straight toward the group of bats. Squeak, squeak, squeak. All of the bats screamed and backed off to the sides, forming a wide path. After passing through the swamp, Yi Chen and the other two slowed down their speed, but they did not dare to relax for even a second. Who knew if there were other dangers besides the Swamp King? My power is still far from enough. Before coming here, although Yi Chen knew that his power was not that much among the half-step king warriors, he had always had it easy, so he did not feel too much. At least, he was not in a rush to increase his power at all costs. But right now, he felt that his power was still not enough. Not to mention the dangerous creatures here, just those half-step king warriors who had come for the tomb of the 4 Extreme Emperor were enough to make him feel a heavy pressure. Right now, his power was only equivalent to a normal half-step king warrior, and there was still a gap between him and the top half-step king warriors. And above that, there were still the top half-step king warriors and the most powerful half-step king warriors. He was at the bottom, only above those top master-level warriors. He did not think that there were only these few half-step king warriors who had come. There were a lot of them that he had not seen yet, such as the half-step king warriors from the top 9 martial schools, the top 4 families, the other rank 5 martial schools, and those half-step king warriors from the demi-beast families who rarely showed themselves. Even if his survival ability was extremely powerful, it would be useless for him to run into those half-step king warriors who could kill him. If he wanted to preserve his life, and if he wanted to gain something from the Tomb of Emperor of 4 Extremes, the only way was to increase his strength and reach a higher level. There was no other way. Find a safe place and try my best to reach late seas of Soul's realm, or even peak level. Yi Chen thought to himself. Yi Chen, are you okay? Murong Ching Cheng saw that Yi Chen had a lot on his mind, so she asked. I'm okay. We will wait for Senior Qing Liu here. Chapter 729. Time passed by bit by bit. After about 15 minutes, Qing Liu had arrived. Teacher. Yang Fengfeng let out a breath. Senior, are you all right? Yi Chen said. Qing Liu shook her head and said, luckily, I let you guys leave. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. After turning into its second form, its power had increased by 2 times. Without the pseudo-extreme rank weapon, even she would not be able to handle a couple of attacks. What about the Swamp King? Qing Liu said, he is still here, and even more powerful than before. Let's talk on the way. Within thousands of miles of the swampland, a loud sound was heard before everything returned to silence. Where did this monster come from? After an unknown period of time, the Swamp King crawled out of the mud, his pitch-black gem-like eyes filled with fear. The opponent had only thrown out 1 blade attack. 1 blade attack had already used up half of his power. If he were to throw out another blade attack, he might very well be killed. He had never expected that there would be such a powerful being among the Demi-King warriors. His undying body was nothing in front of the opponent. And since the opponent could make it all the way here, he must have taught that huge bat a lesson, or even killed him. Damn it! I have lost half of my power. I would need at least half a month to recover from the swampland. If I get hurt again, the power of the swampland would not be enough. I hope that huge bat is killed. Without him, there would be more people coming here and using their dead bodies to nourish the swampland. My power would be even more powerful. The Swamp King was born from the purest energy of the swamp. To a certain extent, he was the swamp, and the swamp was him. The two were bound together. As for the swamp monsters and the swamp monster leader, they were born from the leftover energy of the swamp. They were naturally weak, and their defenses weren't high enough. If there were enough dead bodies to nourish the swampland, then all of the swamp monsters would increase their power as a whole, and his power would reach a whole new level. I have a feeling that this trip to the tomb of the 4 Extreme Emperor would be very deadly. Flying in the air, Qing Liu sighed and said. Yi Chen said, 4 Extreme Emperor is a famous titled monarch from ancient times. His tomb's appearance will definitely cause a storm of blood. We're merely pawns. The real main characters are those people, not us. You're right. Qing Liu knew who Yi Chen was talking about. Right now, all of the king warriors were planning. Some were calling their friends, and some were forming alliances. Her disciple Yang Qingxian was on the same side as the old dragon king of the dragon god celestial palace. Back then, they had even chased after the 9 underworld demon king together, destroying the 9 evil cult. However, a battle between kings will only happen among kings. It has nothing to do with us. The King Realm Kings would be restrained by the King Realm Kings. They were on 2 different levels. There was no distinction between black and white in the underground environment. After roughly half a day, the 3 of them arrived at a barren rocky forest. That looks like a spider web. Murong Qingcheng's eyes were sharp. In the depths of the stone forest ahead, she saw a slightly transparent giant spider web. This spider web had a diameter of 300 meters. With her eyesight, she could see that the thinnest spider silk was as thick as an arm. Everyone, pay attention. Qing Liu slowed down her speed and flew into the stone forest. Be careful. Without any sign, Qing Liu was suddenly stuck in the surreal space, as if she had been caught by something. Her heart skipped a beat as she turned around to warn Yi Chen and the other 2. Boom. 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 Yi Chen took out his Thunder Disaster Sword almost instinctively. He sliced 3 times around Qing Liu's body, forming an inverted triangle. During the whole process, there was a sound of a steel wire breaking. Qing Liu got out of the trap and backed out. This is the invisible spider web. She reached out her hand to grab the invisible spider web on her body. She realized that even with her soul power, she could barely sense its existence. Invisible spider web. Yi Chen frowned. He did not even notice the existence of the spider web before. He scanned it with his soul power, but it was empty. He just felt that something was not right. Now that the spider web had been sliced open, he could sense it and simulate the shape of the spider web in his mind. Like a bolt of lightning, a shadow darted into the void and stuck there. It was a bathtub-sized spider with 8 legs. There were 2 colors of black and white on its back. Its pitch-black mouth opened and closed, looking like it was about to devour someone. Obviously, it had sensed the movement of the spiderweb, so this spider that was hiding in the dark jumped out immediately. It was planning to use the spiderweb to wrap up its prey and enjoy it slowly. Unfortunately, Qing Liu had already gotten out, which made it miss its target. Of course, with this spider's chi, it was only equivalent to a top master level warrior. Even without Yi Chen, it would not be able to do anything to Qing Liu, who was a half-step king warrior. It would probably be broken into pieces right away. It is a predator that had disappeared from the outside world. Qing Liu recognized the spider right away. There were still predators in this true spirit continent, but they were very rare. Most of them had been captured by the powerful human warriors, who treated them as their own wealth and used the spider web to make special items. This predator had the power of a top master level warrior at most, but once a top master level warrior was caught in the web, they would not be able to escape at all. It was not hard to imagine how powerful it was. Shoo! Seeing that there was no prey, the predator turned around and left immediately. It was fast like a shadow. Where do you think you are going? Qing Liu threw out a palm attack and killed the predator in the midair. Green blood spilled everywhere. Deep inside the rock forest, Great Master, save me. In the midair, a huge invisible web had caught Lin Ruhai and Xia Hozuan. The armored king was caught as well, but he soon broke out of the spider web and escaped. Lin Ruhai and Xia Hozuan were panicking as they yelled at the armored king. All right. The armored king activated his Jin Yuan and ripped off the broken spider web on his body, trying to save the two. All of a sudden, a shadow appeared. Two massive predators jumped at Lin Ruhai and Xia Hozuan from the left and right respectively. These two predators were even bigger than the ones Yi Chen and the rest had encountered. Their chi was even more horrifying. They were the king of the predators, and their power was equivalent to normal half-step king warriors. No. Save me. Lin Ruhai and Xia Hozuan yelled at the same time. The armored king had a bad look on his face. Lin Ruhai and Xia Hozuan were dozens of meters away from each other, and in a short amount of time, he could only save one of them. After all, these two predators both had the power of half-step king warriors, and it would be impossible to kill them within a second. If he took the risk, he might lose both of them. Biting on his teeth, the armored king decided to save Xia Hozuan first. For the school, Xia Hozuan was more important than Lin Ruhai, even if he was the headmaster of the school. Why? A desperate look appeared in Lin Ruhai's eyes. The armored king did not look at Lin Ruhai as he instantly appeared right next to Xia Hozuan. His rich Jin Yuan was activated, shattering the spider web instantly. He then reached out his hand and grabbed Xia Hozuan. Shoo! Seeing that its prey had been taken away, the predator that jumped at Xia Hozuan changed its target to the armored king. Piss off! The armored king threw out a punch at the predator's head, leaving a fist mark on it. At the same time, the predator was blown out 100 meters away, hanging in the midair. Meanwhile, a scream came from Lin Ruhai. His head had been pierced through by the predator's mouth, and he died instantly. You all go die. Throwing Xia Hozuan onto the ground, the armored king's expression turned cold. His body flashed, arriving in front of the predator that had killed Lin Ruhai. His 5 fingers formed into hooks as he grabbed out. Swoosh! The tough shell of the predator was nothing in front of the armored king. It was instantly pierced through, causing it to struggle in pain. It then shot out a transparent spiderweb toward the latter. Unfortunately, the latter's protective Jin Yuan was not just for show, so the spider web stuck onto it and could not penetrate through. Die! The armored king used his arm's strength and reached his palm into the predator's body. His earth element Jin Yuan exploded, and with a couple of cracking sounds, the predator was shattered by the expanding rock. This rock was simulated by the armored king's Jin Yuan, so it was 100 times tougher than the real thing. The internal organs of the predator were not as tough as its shell, so how could it block it out? The other predator woke up from its dizziness. Seeing that its comrade had been killed, it spat out countless threads of spider silk from its mouth. The area it covered was shockingly large, trapping the armored king in an instant. Then, the spider silk grew thicker and thicker until the predator's stomach was almost stuffed. Rock Mountain Defense. The armored king's protective Jin Yuan flickered a couple of times, and a huge amount of rock expanded out, eventually forming a small rock mountain. Inside the mountain, the armored king's body moved, carrying the rock mountain and attacking toward the predator. After a loud explosion, The predator was blown into pieces. Amidst the flying rocks, the armored king jumped out and appeared right next to Shia Hozuan. "Great master, thank you." Shia Hozuan was still scared as he thanked the armored king. "Your life was exchanged with Lin Ruhai's. Treasure it." The armored king said lightly. "Yes, the headmaster will not die in vain." An endless ambition appeared in Shia Hozuan's eyes. He desperately needed to increase his power. With enough power, he would be able to protect himself, and with enough power, he would not need anyone to save him. Regarding the fact that he had almost died, Shia Hozuan was more frustrated than anyone else. "Let's go. There might be an entrance in front." This time, Yi Chen and the other three were quite lucky. They had only been ambushed 3 times. The first 2 were normal predators, and the third one was a predator king, which had been slapped by Qing Liu until it puked out blood. Eventually, it used the spider web to escape. Soon, the 4 arrived at the deepest part of the rock mountain. So many people. It was the first time they had seen so many people since they had entered the underground environment. With a rough look, there were at least 30 of them, and 1/3 of them were half-step king warriors. There were more than a dozen of them, and 3 of them had chi no weaker than the gold absolute king. One of them was even a bit more powerful than the gold absolute king, which was almost the same as the punish king. Judging from their clothes and the clothes of the people behind them, Yi Chen could tell who they were from. One was a half-step king warrior from the Ice Pavilion, one was a half-step demi-beast king from the Sky Tiger race, and the last one was a half-step king warrior from the Lin family. The arrival of Yi Chen and the other 3 had attracted a lot of attention, including the armored king and Shia Hozuan. The armored king frowned. He thought that they would be the first ones to find the entrance, but there were already 30 people ahead of them. It was not hard to imagine that there would be other secret tunnels besides the ones they had been through. Chapter 730. Yi Chen. Shia Hozuan was shocked, his eyes cold. Before Yi Chen appeared, the top 5 young warriors had been ruling the whole young generation, which was their glorious time. But after Yi Chen showed up, the top 5 young warriors had started to decline. Besides Bai Wuxue, the other 4 had already been replaced, and it was all caused by Yi Chen. Yi Chen seemed to have injected energy into the whole young generation, making everyone improve drastically. For example, Du Guju, Yang Fengfeng, and Dantai Mingyu. There were still a lot of people chasing after them. No matter if Shia Hozuan wanted to admit it or not, the end of the top 5 young warriors was indeed started by Yi Chen. "Our battle has just begun." Tightening his fists, Shia Hozuan controlled his emotions. Compared to his whole life, peak level late seas of Soul's realm was only the starting point, and the life and death realm was the real stage of his life. Yi Chen did not pay much attention to Shia Hozuan. His eyes scanned through the crowd before landing on the massive cave. It was extremely huge, with the largest diameter being 2,000 meters, and the shortest 1,000 meters. It was an irregular circle, and it was pitch black inside the cave. Even if one pushed their eyesight to its limit, they would not be able to see too clearly. They could only tell that it was not a dead cave from the heat coming from inside. Originally, a cave would not be enough to stop everyone, since those who could make it here would not be simple. They would either be half-step king warriors or top master level warriors with extremely powerful survival abilities. So, why would they be afraid of a cave that they did not know how deep it was? There must be a reason for everyone to stop. Everyone, this cave is basically the only way to the graveyard. But at the same time, this cave is also the nest of the hunters. It is filled with invisible spiderwebs, and 7 people have already died inside, 3 of which were half-step king warriors. It was a half-step king warrior from the Lin family who was called the Guanglin King. After the predator. Some of the people who came later were shocked. If the predator king's strength was equivalent to an ordinary half-step king, then the predator queen's strength was equivalent to a peak half-step king. The most frightening thing was that the predator kings had the advantage of the spiderweb, which allowed them to hunt creatures with higher strength than them. In other words, if one wanted to enter this cave, even a peak half-step king would have a slim chance of survival. However, there was not a single peak half-step king present. "Then what should we do?" a half-step king who had just arrived asked. Guanglin King said, "There's strength in numbers. Before, there were only a few of us, but now there are 36 of us. We can attack the cave together and clear all the obstacles in the cave. It would be best if we could force the predator out. With all of us combined, the predator would definitely die. Will it collapse the cave?" Someone asked. "There's no need to worry about that. Everyone has also noticed that there's an invisible power enveloping the underground world, greatly limiting our destructive power," King Guanglin said with certainty. Qing Liu nodded. When she was battling with the Swamp King, it suddenly changed into its second form and threw her onto the black rock on the top. However, the black rock had only sunk half a meter in, which meant that its toughness was unimaginable. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's do it together." Hearing him, everyone was ready to move. They did not plan to take all the treasures in the tomb for themselves. As long as they could get a couple of them, it would be enough for them to digest for a long time. The 4 Extreme Emperor was a famous titled emperor warrior, and he had 4 powerful beast kings as his subordinates. "All right, everyone, fly to the top of the cave. When I say attack, everyone attack together. Do not hesitate." As Guanglin King spoke, he vaguely exchanged glances with the Half-Step King from the Ice Pavilion and the Sky Tiger race. A cold light flashed in his eyes. 36 people was not a small number, since all of them were either top master level warriors or Half-Step King warriors. It was an extremely powerful force. However, compared to the 2,000 meters wide cave, it was just like a drop in the ocean. Flying into the sky, a lot of people shivered. Looking down at the pitch-black cave, it made them feel insecure. Not knowing if it was intentional or not, Guanglin King, the Half-Step King from the Ice Pavilion, and the Sky Tiger race flew to the highest point without a sound while the rest of them were still in the sky. He yelled, "Everyone, get ready. Accumulate your power and try to break through the cave with one attack." Guanglin King, "Don't worry. With the 36 of us working together, it will only be a matter of time before we turn into ashes." "You are right. There is no need to worry at all." Everyone was full of confidence as they quickly accumulated their most powerful power and ace attacks. "Let's go up a bit." Yi Chen still felt a bit weird. His qi and blood were fluctuating. Seeing that Guanglin King and the other 2 were at the top, he said to Qing Liu, Murong Qingcheng, and the other 2. "Why not go up a bit?" Yang Fengfeng did not understand. Qing Liu thought about it and said, "Let's listen to Yi Chen. He should have his reasons." Just like that, the 3 did not attract anyone's attention. Without realizing it, they had moved to the top. Including them, there were 13 of them in total. "Let's do it," Guanglin King yelled. Boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, the beautiful qi power fell from the sky and flew into the cave. There was blade qi, sword qi, fist qi, morphgen yuan, wind blades, and lightning. Although there were so many qi power compared to the whole cave, it was still very small. But soon, the small qi power exploded with a shocking destructive power. The huge cave was filled with different colors. Countless qi power rubbed against each other, forming an energy black hole in the middle. The energy black hole kept going downwards, sucking everything in. Everyone could clearly see that a lot of invisible spider webs were pulled by the energy black hole. They showed their shapes and were then pulled in. This result caused everyone to be excited. No one knew how deep the cave was. The noise caused by the energy black hole was getting further and further away, until nothing could be heard anymore. "All right, everyone, let's do it again," Guanglin King said worriedly. Boom. Without needing Guanglin King's reminder, everyone threw out a killing attack in unison. The powerful qi power had even shaved off layers of the cave walls. Shoo, 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 shoo. After the second joint attack, an extremely sharp piercing sound suddenly came from the depths of the cave. The next moment, dozens of white lines shot out from the cave like flowers scattered by a celestial maiden, covering most of the people in the air above the cave. "Not good. It is the spider silk of the killer. No. Cut it. It is dragging us in." The change was too sudden. A lot of people did not even have time to react before they were stuck on their bodies by the sticky spider silk. They were then dragged into the cave. There were some people who had fast reactions and tried their best to avoid the attack of the spider silk. Below Yi Chen, a person had dodged a spider silk, but his protective Jinyuan had been stuck by another one. He made a quick decision and released his protective Jinyuan. Unfortunately, there were dozens of spider silk, so the rest of the people were the main targets. Eventually, his ankle was caught, and he was about to be dragged down. "Save me." That person turned to Yi Chen and Qing Liu for help. "Save him." Yi Chen threw out a sword attack without hesitation. The black sword Qi cut on the spider silk. Dong. That destructive sword Qi did not break the spider silk, but only made it thinner. Black sky finger. Right after that, Qing Liu broke the spider silk with a finger attack. After escaping from death, the person who had just been saved flew to Yi Chen and the rest, saying gratefully, "Thank you for saving my life. I, Sun Tianlang, owe you my life. If you need me to help in the future, just let me know. I, Sun Tianlang, will not say no." Yi Chen said, "Brother Sun, let's help each other in the future." Sun Tianlang was also a half-step king warrior. Working together, their power had undoubtedly increased to another level. If they ran into the Ghostwood King and the Gopher King again, they would definitely be able to beat them. All right. Sun Tianlang nodded. He then looked down at the cave and sighed. It was so tragic. 36 people, and now there are only dozens of them left. If it were not for you guys, I might have followed in their footsteps. Yi Chen said, "Brother Sun, do you think this is just a coincidence? Is it not a coincidence?" Sun Tianlang looked at Yi Chen. Yi Chen then said, "Before you came, how many people were there?" "I came quite early. When I came, there were only 7 or 8 people. Guanglin King had said before that 7 people had already died. Then, after you came, were there any deaths?" "No." Sun Tianlang shook his head. "That's right. It means that before you came, Guanglin King and the rest of them had already made their moves. They knew about the power of the hunters. So, he suggested to work together. The purpose was indeed to get rid of the hunters and clear out the obstacles in the cave. But it was not like he did not want to use us as a shield." "You mean, they knew that this would happen?" Sun Tianlang was extremely angry. Yi Chen said, "I am just guessing. As for whether it is accurate or not, I do not know. Perhaps it is just a coincidence. But, Brother Sun, you better not show your hostility toward them. It is not a smart thing to do." Taking a deep breath, Sun Tianlang said, "Don't worry, I will not be reckless." Among the remaining dozens of people, Guanglin King and the Ice Pavilions, half of them were already there. There were only 5 of them on their side. The Shield King and Xia Hozuan could not be counted on. So, once a conflict broke out, it would be them who would suffer. There is still a long way to go. We just have to be careful. Yi Chen noticed the change in Sun Tianlang's expression and nodded secretly. He did not think that saving Sun Tianlang's life would make him follow him all the way. In this life and death situation, it would already be great if they did not step on him. Only by exposing Guanglin King's evil intentions would Sun Tianlang feel insecure and start to rely on them. Only then would he be able to make Sun Tianlang work for him wholeheartedly. After all, without Yi Chen and the rest of them, Sun Tianlang would not be able to move forward easily, and his life would be in danger at any moment. Of course, Yi Chen was not using him. It was a win-win situation. The more people there were, the more power there was. It was an unchanging truth. Shoo. Right then, the skinny elder, the teenager and the Iron Hand King flew over. Iron Hand King, Qing Liu's eyes looked cold. The Iron Hand King forced a laugh. What a coincidence. He was all alone right now, and his power had been greatly reduced. He did not dare to mess with Qing Liu anymore. Qing Liu's cold expression did not change, but she would not attack the Iron Hand King first. It was not the right time yet. Ha. Not long after the 3 arrived, a loud laugh was heard. Thunder light flashed. Chem. Guanglin King and the rest frowned as they looked towards the direction of the laughter. Shoo. A thunder light figure materialized from the void. It was the Thunder Spirit King. Thunder Spirit King, nice to meet you. Guanglin King held his fists together, his tone was a bit respectful. If it were before, they could still control the situation. But once the Thunder Spirit King arrived, the situation had changed. With the Thunder Spirit King's power, he could kill them all. It was the power of absolute power. Chapter 731. Thunder Spirit King. The Shield King and the Iron Hand King both held their fists at the Thunder Spirit King to show their respect. Although the skinny elder did not hold his fists together, nor did he say anything, his expression was extremely serious. He could clearly tell that the Thunder Spirit King was unpredictable, more powerful than any of the half-step king warriors he had seen before. It was so powerful that it was hard to predict. What is going on here? The Thunder Spirit King nodded as he came to the top of the cave with his hands behind his back. Guanglin King said, "There is a predator queen inside, and dozens of people have already died in her hands. Of course, with your power, the predator queen would not be able to do anything to you." The Thunder Spirit King waved his right hand. One predator queen is not scary. What is scary is that there is more than one inside. Even if one predator queen could bring him some trouble, it would be very limited. If there were 2 or 3 of them, then it would be a huge problem. Thunder Spirit King, I am Morchi Hu. In my opinion, we should wait for another group of people to come, and then we will all go in together. Morchi Hu was a demi-beast king from the Sky Tiger race. He could tell that the predator queen was in the cave, and it would be impossible to attack it from the outside. So, the only thing they could do was to go in with brute force. Of course, they would need to have enough people. That way, even if some people would die, it would only be a small portion of them, and the rest would be able to make it through. Most importantly, with the Thunder Spirit King, one of the most powerful demi-king warriors, being here, it would be a lot safer. Brother Morchi is right. The cave is deep and unpredictable. Staying outside would be a waste of time. The one who answered was the Ice Pavilion demi-king warrior, the Ice Spear King. The Ice Pavilion was one of the top 9 martial schools, and their head disciple Duan Langya had even lost an arm to Yi Chen. Since that is the case, let's wait until there are more than 25 people. The Thunder Spirit King nodded. Time passed slowly as everyone waited quietly. Remember, don't stay too far away from me. Going through the cave might be the most dangerous thing to do in the forbidden place. Even with the sky hammer in her hand, Qing Liu might not be able to make it out alive. Yes, teacher. Senior, don't worry. Yang Fengfeng and Murong Qingcheng both nodded. Yi Chen didn't say anything. He was meditating and cultivating. Although breaking through to the next realm was about success when the conditions were right, sometimes it was also about luck. If luck was on his side, he could break through in the blink of an eye. If he could break through now, Yi Chen's strength would naturally increase greatly, which was a good thing. After 2 hours, the number of people finally exceeded 25. Everyone, the hunter's nest is extremely dangerous. If you go in alone, you will definitely die. If you go in together, you will only have a 50-50 chance of survival. I still stand by my words. Those who don't dare should not come looking for the Tomb of Emperor of 4 Extremes, because they do not have the qualifications. Guanglin Wang was very eloquent. With just one sentence, a lot of people who were hesitating had made up their minds. After all, he was right. There were countless treasures in the tomb of the 4 Extreme Emperor. However, the more treasures there were, the more dangerous it would be. Without effort, there would be no return. Since they were already here, they had to give it their all. All right, let's charge together. Swish, swish, swish. Just as Guanglin Wang finished his sentence, everyone jumped down into the cave. Among them, the Thunder Spirit King was the fastest, leading the way. He had the power to do so. Then, it was Guanglin Wang, Morchi Hu, and the Ice Spear King. They were all trying to get close to the Thunder Spirit King. There is still not enough time. While he was meditating, Yi Chen already had a feeling that if he had enough time, he would be able to break through to late seas of Soul's realm. Even if he did not have 100% confidence, he would have at least 50% confidence. 25 people jumped into the massive cave like a small rock being thrown into the ocean, not making any waves at all. Without a sound, everyone fell into the deep darkness. Of course, looking from the outside, it was indeed pitch black. But, Once they got in, it was not so dark that they could not even see their fingers. They could still see 1,000 meters clearly. But what made them curious was that they could not see anything on the surface of the cave at all. It was pitch black, as if it could devour any kind of light. Woo! Woo! Yang Fengfeng and Murong Qingcheng were breathing very fast, and their hearts were beating very fast. It was not that they had not faced life and death situations before, but it was always in the light. But right now, they were in the dark, and they did not know where the predators would attack from or when. The unknown was always scary. Even Yang Fengfeng and Murong Qingcheng were no exception. Normally, the two's mentality was not that different from Yi Chen's. But right then, the real difference was finally revealed. Among the five, Qing Liu and Sun Tianlang were both breathing a bit faster. Only Yi Chen was able to keep his heart rate normal. For him, being nervous would affect his performance. It would slow down his thinking and slow down his movements. Even if it was only 1%, it would be enough to kill him. No wonder my soul power could not reach out, and I could only see things with my eyes. It turns out that there are soulstone mines everywhere. Yi Chen finally knew why he could not see the walls of the cave. Most of the stones on the walls were minerals that contained soulstones, and the soul power would be greatly restricted. Soulstones could not only block out soul power, but also devour light. Without light, the eyes would naturally not be able to see the walls of the cave. Yi Chen could tell that there was a soulstone mine here because he had gotten a lot of soulstones in the Savage Ruin ancient place, so he was not a stranger to this kind of situation. But this cannot stop me. His pupils turned silver white, and wherever Yi Chen's eyes could see, the cave was all white, like a black and white world. Nothing could escape from his eyes. The only downside was that it was not as wide as the coverage of his soul power. After all, Yi Chen only had a pair of eyes, and it would be impossible for him to see everything in every direction. Almost at the same time, a pair of gold light beams shot out of Murong Qingcheng's eyes. It was like two small searchlights, drawing a golden trace in the darkness. There were countless black holes on the walls of the cave, and they were all connected. The smallest one was at least 10 meters in diameter, and the biggest one was at least 10 meters in diameter. The black shadow moved, and a round object that was about 7 meters in size moved to one of the holes, its head poking out. In the red vision, the figures of the Thunder Spirit King and the others appeared. Swish! Opening its mouth, the round creature shot out a huge white web, covering towards the Thunder Spirit King and the others. Open! The Thunder Spirit King's reaction was extremely fast. He took out his long blade and slashed at the center of the spider web. It had not only cut the spider web into two, but the horrifying thunder power had also burned half of the spider web. It was not over yet. The Thunder Spirit King then threw out a second blade attack. The blade chi followed the spider web and attacked towards the round creature, which was the predator. The predator immediately retracted its head and jumped into the deep part of the black hole. There was a cracking sound. 100 meters long and a couple of meters deep crack appeared on the wall of the cave. The thunder power was spreading everywhere. Great Master, save me. Although the spiderweb had been cut into two, and half of it had been burned, the remaining 2 10 meters wide web still covered the two top Master level warriors behind Guanglin King and Ice Spear King. Being covered by the huge web, even if they released their protective Jin Yuan, they would not be able to get rid of it. The huge power contained in the spiderweb had sent them flying towards the other side of the cave wall. Guanglin King and Ice Spear King did not have the time to think before they realized that the two had disappeared from their sight. It turned out that the other side of the cave wall had shot out 2 beams of white spiderweb, dragging them into the black hole. Damn it! Guanglin King clenched his fists. Before this, their Lin family had only lost one top Master level warrior, and now they had lost another one. If they could not get some treasures as compensation, then this mission would not be worth it. Ice Spear King's expression was even worse than Guanglin King's. The other Master level warrior who had been captured was his junior disciple. If he had known that the forbidden place would be this dangerous, he would not have brought a top Master level warrior with him. Just like the Thunder Spirit King, he had nothing to worry about. Of course, even if he suggested not to bring a top Master level warrior, most of the people in the ice pavilion would not agree. A big party would usually only have 1 or 2 half-step king warriors, and it would be impossible for them to send all of them. At most, they would send one. Although one half-step king warrior was powerful, there would be no advantage if the enemy had half-step king warriors as well. At this moment, it would depend on who had more top master level warriors. Plus, who would have thought that the forbidden place would be more dangerous than they had imagined? Top master level warriors would not be able to move even an inch. The predator seemed to have been angered by the Thunder Spirit King, attacking him from time to time. He had even set up a lot of spider webs along the way. However, the Thunder Spirit King was way too powerful. Those spider webs could not stop him at all. They could not even slow him down for a second. Facing the Thunder Spirit King's counterattacks, the predator had more or less taken some damage. He no longer attacked the Thunder Spirit King, but instead turned to attack the people behind the Thunder Spirit King. On the other side of the cave wall, the predator did not attack the Thunder Spirit King and the group. His target was the others. Ah! Ah! Every scream meant that one person had been caught. So far, there had been 7 screams in total, bringing an indescribable horrifying atmosphere to this dark environment. Be careful. Stepping on his flying sword, Yi Chen looked like a beam of sword light, traveling in the darkness. As he pointed out his sword finger, another flying sword appeared out of nowhere, shooting out sword chi from time to deflect the incoming spider webs. With his soul eyes, these invisible spider webs had nowhere to hide, and he had noticed them from far away. Although Murong Qingqing's demon eyes were not as powerful as Yi Chen's, she could still see the spider webs. With the 2 of them there, Qin Liu, Yang Fengfeng, and Sun Tianlang did not have to worry about these spider webs at all. All they needed to do was to follow the instructions and attack. Luckily, I am here with them. Sun Tianlang was extremely glad. If it were not for the fact that he was with Yi Chen, it would not be this easy for him, and he might have been killed already. And this had made him even more determined to stand on Yi Chen's side. As long as he could get some soup, he would be fine. He knew very well that without Yi Chen and the rest, no matter how many treasures he had, he would not be able to bring them back. Ah! Screams were heard from time to time. 11 people had already been caught, which was almost half of the total number. What made everyone let out a breath of relief was that they had already seen the light, which was bright red. We are almost there. Everyone, do not let your guard down. Qing Liu did not let her guard down at all. Instead, she was getting more and more nervous. Her years of experience told her that when they were about to get out of danger, it was actually the most dangerous moment. Just as she finished talking, dozens of spider webs covered over. In the deepest part of the cave, besides the 2 predator queens, there were also a lot of predator kings. No. Seeing that they were about to get out of danger, a lot of people subconsciously let their guard down. However, the dozens of spider webs that were coming at them made them feel hopeless. Mystical attack! Qing Liu yelled as she held the sky hammer in her hand, blasting out a shining rectangular tunnel. Come in. Qing Liu jumped in. Yi Chen and the other 3 followed right behind her. Boom! Boom! The tunnel behind them kept on breaking down as the 4 traveled through it. Chapter 732. In times of danger, it was the best time to show one's power. The Shield King formed a spell with both of his hands, forming a brown-colored mountain right outside of his body. It wrapped around Xia Hozuan and flew towards the other side of the cave, letting the spider web cover them. Guanglin King, Ice Spear King and Morchi who were a bit more relaxed. The 3 of them had put up a huge protective layer together, breaking through everything easily. The skinny elder performed his super powerful wind art, carrying the teenager and flying in the air in a mysterious way. The Iron Hand King was all alone, looking very messed up. However, he was quite lucky, as he could always make it out safely. As for the Thunder Spirit King, he held up his blade with both of his hands and waved out 1,000 meters long thunder blade light. Anything that got in his way would be turned into ashes within a second. However, the others did not have such powerful attacks. No matter how hard they struggled, no matter how hard they tried, they would not be able to escape from those layers of spider webs. The mysterious attack contained the space profound, which could send the enemy into a different dimension, where they would only be able to use half of their power. It was an ace attack that Xianhu had created. As Xuanho's teacher, although Qing Liu was not as powerful as Xianhu, she was still a very talented genius. She had not only trained the mysterious attack to an extremely high level, but she had also created another kind of effect. This rectangular glowing tunnel looked like a rectangle, but it was actually a space node. Traveling through it, Yi Chen and the other three felt like they had arrived at a colorful spiral tunnel. Tearing open the surreal space. Yi Chen was a bit shocked. Qing Liu explained, the space has its own structure as well. If you treat it like a building, there are two ways to get in. One is to use brute force to break the wall and get in directly. The other is to open the door or the window. The mysterious attack would be the second one. Of course, the space here is too stable. I can only use the sky hammer to do it. Right now, it is breaking down. We have to hurry up, otherwise we will be exiled into the surreal space and be assimilated by the space power. Entering the surreal space in the forbidden place was extremely dangerous, so Qing Liu had to do it. 25 people had entered the cave, but only 15 had passed. More than half of the total number had survived, but in reality, less than 10% had survived. That was because those who had survived had the greatest chance of surviving. Those who had died were those who hadn't been strong enough. In other words, if one was not strong enough and did not have the ability to survive, there was no need to hope for a 50% chance of survival. Before entering, those who died would always think that they might not have a 50% chance of survival. If they were given another chance, most of them would give up. Of course, there was no second chance in life, and time could not be reversed. There were many things that needed to be considered before acting. After passing through the cave, what appeared before everyone's eyes was a deathly still world and a black graveyard that stretched as far as the eye could see. We've reached the graveyard. Joy appeared on Sun Tianlong's face. We've finally arrived. Qing Liu let out a sigh of relief. Their luck was very good. Up until now, only Lin Gaoming had died. The rest of them had all survived. However, if there were a few more dangers, the result would be hard to say. From now on, everyone will have to rely on their own power. A beam of light flashed through the Thunder Spirit King's eyes. His purpose of coming here was not the same as the others. The others were here for the treasures, but he was only here for the Space Profound martial arts. As long as he could learn the Space Profound, it would be very beneficial for him in the future. Woo! As the Thunder Spirit King was talking, a wave of space vibration appeared. Everyone looked over and were all shocked. It turned out that there was another portal. From the portal, 5 human shadows came out in 2 groups. One group was the Punish King and the 2 top master level warriors from the prison martial school, and the other group was Dantai Mingyu and the elder with white hair. Prison martial school, Tantai family. Guang Lin King's eyes flickered. Although the top 9 martial schools and the top 4 families were at the same level, seriously speaking, the top 4 families would be a lot weaker than the top 9 martial schools. A martial school was a martial school after all, and it was not something a family could compete with. The prison martial school was one of the top 9 martial schools, so their power was definitely above the Lin family. And the Punish King was an old generation demi-king warrior, who had the power of a top demi-king warrior. The Tantai family was just like the Lin family, also one of the top 4 families. Unfortunately, the Tantai family had a martial genius like Dantai Mingyu, while the Lin family was lacking in talent. Haha, we are quite lucky. We did not fall behind. The Punish King laughed out loud as he glanced at the Thunder Spirit King and Qing Liu. The former made him afraid, while the latter had a top-rank spirit tree. Punish King, long time no see. When the Thunder Spirit King had just reached the Demi-King warrior level, the Punish King was already one of the top warriors among the Demi-King warriors. After a long time, the Thunder Spirit King had caught up, and any Demi-King warrior would give him enough respect. Indeed, long time no see. The Punish King nodded. There were 5 graveyards in total, forming a line. The first one should be the grave of the 4 extreme emperors Grey Wolf King. There were 2 30 meters tall giant wolf statues in front of the graveyard. They were roaring into the sky, bringing with them a horrifying evil chi. Yi Chen used his soul eye to check out the surroundings. He realized that the whole graveyard was covered in a horrifying forbidden power. Although the power was hidden, the light chi that was being emitted was enough to make people's hair stand on end. It was as if it could kill people at any second. The only entrance was the gate of the Grey Wolf King's graveyard. I knew I needed a key. Yi Chen saw a teacup-sized keyhole on the gate. Without any surprises, if he wanted to enter the graveyard, he would need the key to the Grey Wolf constellation. Open. All of a sudden, the Thunder Spirit King, who was standing in front of the gate, took out his blade and waved it. The dominating thunder and lightning blade light landed on the metal gate. Boom. The metal gate shone with a bright light. The thunder and lightning blade light seemed to have landed on something soft and bounced back even faster. Hey! The Thunder Spirit King was surprised as he lifted up his blade to block out the blade light that he had shot out. Perhaps I need a key? Guanglin King looked at everyone with a different thought. Tian, go. The skinny elder nodded to the teenager. Right now, everyone was here, so it would be pointless to hide the key. Most importantly, opening the graveyard would require 4 keys, and the other 3 would be in the hands of the others. All right. The teenager walked towards the gate. He had gotten the first movement of the void-shattering finger art. Xia Hozuan and Yi Chen realized it immediately. No matter how stupid they were, they knew that the first movement of the void-shattering finger art and the key to the Grey Wolf constellation had been taken by this mysterious teenager. If I have guessed it right, that person should be the Storm Wind King. The Shield King had recognized the skinny elder's identity. Who is he? Xia Hozuan was talking about the mysterious teenager. The Shield King said, the Stormwind King is under the command of the Air Emperor. Without any surprises, this kid should be the youngest disciple of the Air Emperor, Jiang Tian. He has the rare Dao body, which is one of the most powerful ones right now. It is even more powerful than the evil spirit body. Jiang Tian? Xia Hozuan squinted his eyes. The Shield King was the great master of the surreal martial school, so the source of the information would not be wrong. And the Air Emperor was even more famous. He was just as powerful as his teacher, the leader of the surreal martial school, Shu King. How is Yi Chen compared to him? Xia Hozuan asked subconsciously. The Shield King said, it is hard to say. But in my opinion, Yi Chen should not be able to compete with him. The Dao body was a rare body that could only be found once in 10,000 years. It had a great comprehensive ability, and was the favorite of the nature. It had a secret connection with the nature itself. Different from the evil spirit body, the Dao body was powerful in all aspects. Therefore, it was even more powerful than the evil spirit body. It would be hard for Yi Chen to compete with it. This kid is called Jiang Tian. He is 28 years old. Perhaps he will be your biggest rival in the future. Judging on all aspects, Du Guju would not be able to compete with him. Qing Liu said to Yi Chen. Very powerful indeed. Yi Chen nodded slightly. He could feel that wherever Jiang Tian, who had the symbol in between his eyebrows, went, the natural environment would be centered around him, bringing him an extreme threat. Walking to the metal door, Jiang Tian took out a huge blue key from his storage ring. He inserted the key into the keyhole and turned it slowly. Crack, crack, crack. The metal door that did not move at all opened up a gap as the key was turned. Crack. Jiang Tian pushed it hard, and the metal door opened completely. The door is open. Without thinking, everyone flashed their bodies and shot into the metal door. Let's go in. Qing Liu and Yi Chen and the other 4 entered the door as well. The second they entered, everyone realized that they had entered a lost space without any sense of direction. They were separated from their friends all of a sudden, and were all alone. Is this a king-level spell? Once he entered the tomb, Yi Chen not only realized that his vision had been twisted, but his soul power had also been twisted. It was like he was in a surreal space, and nothing could reach out of it. Although his soul eye could see some images, it could not tell the distance and direction between the two, which was something that had never happened before. Therefore, Yi Chen thought that this was a king-level spell, which would work even on life and death realm warriors. Looking at Murong Qingqing's image that was so far away, Yi Chen gave up on trying to find her. He could only take it one step at a time, since he did not think that this spell was used to kill them. Otherwise, why would they leave the key behind? Not knowing how much time had passed, Yi Chen walked out of the spell and appeared in a dark tunnel. The lights on the side lit up automatically, making a slight popping sound. Without thinking too much, Yi Chen continued to walk along the tunnel. 3 walls away from Yi Chen, Jiang Tian's body appeared. At the same time, Dantai Mingyu, who was wearing red clothes and a red veil over her face, also appeared behind 2 walls to the north of Yi Chen. The 3 were very close to each other. If there were no walls separating them, they could even see each other. The tomb was like a maze, very complicated. Yi Chen walked in the tunnel with his intuition. He seemed to have sensed a familiar qi, and the dream-eating wolf that had been quiet in his beast tag started to get restless. Quiet. Yi Chen patted the beast tag. Chapter 733. After a pot of tea worth of time, the dream-eating wolf inside the tag started to get restless again. Compared to last time, it was even more intense this time, as if something was attracting it. I'm almost there. It should be the pellet room, right? Yi Chen could sense the source of the dream-eating wolf's restlessness. There was a hint of extremely light pellet scent coming from there. Following the scent, Yi Chen gradually approached. Soon, the footsteps stopped. Yi Chen was standing in front of a stone door. The pellet scent was indeed coming from inside. Reaching out both of his hands, Yi Chen pushed the stone door with all his might. There was nothing special about the stone door, and it opened with a loud bang. This is demonic beast breeding fluid. The stone room was extremely huge, like a square. In the middle of the room, a pellet furnace was standing there. On the outside of the furnace, there was a metal wolf head. Below the wolf head was a stone trough, with drops of blue liquid dripping down from the wolf head's mouth into the trough. The trough had already been filled up a long time ago, and the transparent liquid kept dripping out. A dense pellet scent filled the room, lingering for a long time. The reason why Yi Chen thought it was demonic beast breeding fluid was because of the demonic power contained within the pellet scent, which was extremely hard for humans to absorb. Can it still be used? Yi Chen walked over to the stone trough and realized that the liquid in the stone trough was different from the liquid that had flowed down from the wolf head's mouth. One of them was transparent, without any nutrition, while the other one was blue, which obviously contained an extremely powerful energy. Obviously, this blue liquid would lose its effect after a while. The energy in the stone trough had already evaporated, and only the alchemy furnace was still working. Opening the lid of the furnace, Yi Chen's eyebrows flicked. He was extremely shocked. Inside the alchemy furnace, there was nothing but a cyan crystal. The crystal was about the size of a fist. As the alchemy furnace revolved, strands of cyan air gathered together and condensed into a cyan liquid. It flowed into the metal wolf head through the pipe and then flowed down. The fact that the furnace could operate for 70,000 years should have something to do with the formation in the graveyard. The formation could absorb the natural energy and provide power. But this crystal has been refined for 70,000 years, and it still hasn't disappeared. Intuition told Yi Chen that this blue crystal was not simple at all. It was at least a semi-extreme grade crystal. It might even be an extreme grade crystal, which was priceless. After looking at the cyan crystal, Yi Chen reached out his hand to grab it. So heavy. The fist-sized cyan crystal was thousands of times heavier than Yi Chen had imagined. Even with his strength of several 100,000 jins, it wasn't easy for him to pick it up. He estimated that it weighed no less than 100,000 jins. This kind of density surpassed any known metal. Generally speaking, even top-grade treasures weren't this heavy. The cyan crystal and the alchemy furnace are still in good condition. They can be used to cultivate the dream-eating wolf. Maybe he can become a half-step demon king or even a demon king. The higher one's power was, the more help they would need. The world was just too big, and there were a lot of unknown dangerous places. In the future, there might be life and death friends, but friends would also part ways. There would always be times when one would be alone. Therefore, Cultivating beasts was the best way. They would not betray you, and they would not have conflicts of interest with you. At the critical moment, they would be able to fight side by side with you. The longer the time it took to cultivate the beasts, the better it would be. After a long time, they would develop feelings for you, and they would be willing to sacrifice for you. If the time was short, although they would not betray you, they might not agree with you. Extreme rank beast power crystal. A voice was suddenly heard. Yi Chen turned his head and squinted his eyes. It was Jiang Tian. He had a secret connection with nature, and his qi hiding power was top-notch. Plus, Yi Chen did not release his soul power all the time. Therefore, Yi Chen was not able to sense it even when he was hundreds of meters away. Hihi, my luck is not bad. I can't believe I got a fist-sized extreme rank beast power crystal. Normally, a finger-sized one would be enough to make a half-step demon king fight for it. Such a big one, even a beast king would be tempted. Jiang Tian had a smile on his face as he walked over step by step. Putting away the blue crystal, Yi Chen said, "It should be my luck. You are only the one who found it. The one who will get it in the end will be me." Jiang Tian looked very confident. "That is not for sure." Yi Chen put the cauldron away. This cauldron was not a normal cauldron, as it could only be used to train things. Therefore, its value was just as high as a semi-extreme rank great weapon. Without this cauldron, Yi Chen would not be able to train it even with the blue crystal. "Not for sure. You will find out soon. But if I were you, I would take the initiative to give you these two things. Only then would you have the chance to live." Jiang Tian blocked in front of the stone door, looking at Yi Chen casually. The symbol in between his eyebrows started to shine, which was a sign that he was about to attack. "You are very confident. But too bad, confidence will not let you win against me." Yi Chen admitted that Jiang Tian was very powerful. According to Qing Liu, he should be just like him, the type that had no weaknesses. But it did not mean that he would have the chance to win against him. Hearing him, Jiang Tian laughed. "If I am not wrong, you are Yi Chen from the True Spirit Continent, right? It is really regretful, but this might be the last time you show your face. In the future, there will not be a sword master Yi Chen in this world anymore. You will die here. It is too early for you to be arrogant." Tidying up his clothes, Yi Chen straightened his back. A wave of invisible sword qi appeared, and his thunder disaster sword made a loud noise. Just as the two were about to attack, a light footstep sound was heard from outside the stone door. The owner of the footstep did not seem to be planning to hide. The next second, a red figure appeared outside the door. It was Dantai Mingyu. "These two are going to attack." Dantai Mingyue's pretty eyebrows flicked. The two people in her sight were not normal warriors. One was the True Spirit Continent's swordmaster, and the other was a mysterious young warrior. The threat that he brought to her was no weaker than Yi Chen, and even more dangerous than Du Guju and Liu Wujian. They were definitely not normal warriors. Just as the two were about to attack, she came at the wrong time. This girl is not simple. Jiang Tian glanced at Dantai Mingyu out of the corner of his eyes and came to a conclusion. He said to Yi Chen, "It seems like you are quite lucky after all. You will not die here without anyone knowing." Although Dantai Mingyu was not simple, Jiang Tian was confident that he would only need to pay a small price to kill Yi Chen. And even if he paid a small price, Dantai Mingyu would not be able to handle him. Therefore, this battle was inevitable. "You talk too much. Let's do it." Yi Chen would not underestimate Dantai Mingyu, who was very mysterious. But, he was thinking the same thing as Jiang Tian. This battle was inevitable. Besides the extreme rank beast power crystal, it was also because of the fact that there could not be two tigers on the same mountain. Since he could not run away, then he might as well fight with all he had. "Since you are not going to hand over the thing, then you will have to pay with your life." 5 symbol palm. The symbol in between his eyebrows suddenly shone as Jiang Tian reached out his right hand. A twisted symbol appeared on each of his 5 fingers. As he threw out a palm attack, 5 symbols attacked toward Yi Chen. Symbol palm power. Yi Chen was a bit surprised. When activating a semi-extreme rank defensive weapon, there would be symbols on the protective Jin Yuan as well. This Jiang Tian's symbol palm power was a bit similar to the defensive symbols. However, it did not show defensive power, but offensive power. Chin. Taking out his Thunder Disaster Sword, Yi Chen waved out a dark gold pattern, preparing to test the destructive power of the symbol palm power. Swoosh. The dark gold pattern contained the destruction sword intent. Once it made contact with the symbol palm power, a series of explosions were heard. Not good. It is the nature's will. This symbol palm power contains not only its own martial will, but also the nature's will. Yi Chen's body flashed as he backed out. In front of him, 5 crystal-colored fire waves attacked toward him. It was the flame chi after the symbol palm power exploded, which tore apart the dark gold pattern instantly. Boom. 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 Drawing an arc in the air, Yi Chen avoided the colored flame. However, the stone wall near him had 5 extra holes, which were all burnt black. Not bad. You managed to avoid the 5 symbol palm. Jiang Tian smiled and nodded. He threw out dozens of 5 symbol palm attacks with both of his hands. The twisted symbols flew everywhere, blocking all the blind spots. Thunder Devour. Condense. Yi Chen was not the kind of person who did not know how to fight back. 5 sword wings appeared on his back as he flew in the air. His speed was instantly doubled, traveling through the twisted symbols. At the same time, the Thunder Disaster Sword that was shining like thunder also waved out a killing attack in his hand, shooting out a black light ball. Boom. The black light ball exploded, and the thunder spread out crazily. Haha, you are still too young. Above the stone room, Jiang Tian's body appeared, throwing out a palm attack toward Yi Chen. As this palm attack was thrown out, dozens of hundreds of symbol palm power attacked out. The aggressive natures will made people feel like they were in the middle of a natural disaster. Not to mention top master level warriors, even normal half-step king warriors would not be able to get away with it. It would be impossible for them to do it without paying a price. Unfortunately, Yi Chen was not a normal top master level warrior, nor was he a normal half-step king warrior. He was Yi Chen, and compared to warriors at the same level, he had no weakness at all. Facing the incoming symbol palm power, his sword intent continued to increase, breaking through the natural's restriction as he threw out a sword attack. This sword attack was still the Thunder Devour, but its shape was extremely huge, more than 5 meters in diameter. It was like a falling star surrounded by thunder and lightning as it shot out. Boom! The symbol palm power and the thunder ball clashed together, and waves of horrifying blast waves spread out. If this stone room were not covered by the restriction spell, it would have been destroyed for sure. A thunder profound that is way beyond the entry level. Dantai Mingyu was shocked. The mastery of the profound was divided into 3 levels: entry, completion, and completion. Once the mastery of a profound was over 30%, it would be the entry level, and 99% would be the completion level. Yi Chen's Thunder Devour contained the Thunder Profound that was way beyond the entry level. It was at least 50 to 60%. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to accumulate this much power. With her back against the wall outside the stone room, Dantai Mingyu shifted her attention to Jiang Tian. His ability to control the naturals will had surprised her as well. Without some kind of powerful body and talent, even if one had great comprehensive ability, it would still be impossible to control the natural's will. Although Jiang Tian had only controlled a small part of the natural's will, not the whole world. It is over. Inside the stone room that was as huge as a square, Jiang Tian had a smile on his face. Out of nowhere, layers of colorful spell symbols appeared out of his body. They expanded all of a sudden, forming a massive spell ball that covered Yi Chen, taking up almost half of the stone room. It should not end like this, right? Dantai Mingyu could see the power of the symbol ball, but Yi Chen was not an easy person to deal with either. Those who had underestimated him had all failed. Chapter 734. Being inside the massive spell ball, Yi Chen could feel that he had lost his connection with the outside world. These spell patterns were connected by countless thin energy strings, which was very unique. It was like a small ball-shaped world with the natural will inside. and the natural will was completely under Jiang Tian's control. In other words, Jiang Tian was the ruler of this massive spell ball. Boom, boom, boom. Yi Chen continued to wave his sword and attack. The black sword chi was like a tornado as it attacked toward the giant symbol ball. But the giant symbol ball had the ability to disperse the power. No matter how powerful the power was, it would be dispersed into hundreds of thousands of parts, which would be useless. Gold fury. Sword intent poured out of his body as Yi Chen waved out an extremely powerful sword attack. The sword chi formed into a beam of dark gold light and shot out. Crack. A crack appeared on the giant symbol ball, which was getting bigger and bigger. The twisted symbols around it started to crumble and disintegrate while the sword chi leaked out. Combined sword movement. Jiang Tian was a bit surprised. He hurried to form a spell with both of his hands and threw out a symbol palm power to fill up the gap. It was like he was patching up his clothes. Break. Jun Yuan exploded as Yi Chen continued to attack the gap that was being filled up, trying to prevent it from recovering immediately. Don't even think about getting out. Jiang Tian was furious. The colored symbol in between his eyebrows actually separated out and floated in the midair. The next second, a mysterious power covered the giant symbol ball. The gap that had been cut open started to recover at 10 times the speed, which was obviously faster than Yi Chen's breaking speed. Soon, the giant symbol ball was as perfect as before. Die. Symbol kill. His right hand tightened as a cold look flashed through Jiang Tian's eyes. Boom. 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 Explosions were heard one after another. The innermost symbols in the giant symbol ball started to surround Yi Chen, spinning at an extreme speed like a tornado made of symbols. Normal tornadoes could already cause huge damage to normal people and destroy buildings. However, the tornado made of symbols could kill any top master level warriors, and even normal half-step king warriors would be badly wounded. It was Jiang Tian's ace attack that could kill everything within a second. This won't do. This rune sphere is a complete entity. It contains the will of the world that belongs to Jiang Tian. If I want to destroy the rune sphere, I have to make it imperfect. The best way is to destroy the will of the world inside, allowing my sword intent to dominate everything. Awoo. Blue veins popped out on his forehead and temples as he released his destruction sword intent for the first time. Before, even when he encountered Liu Wujian, he had only used his normal power without going beyond his limit. It should be known that the reason why martial geniuses were called martial geniuses was because they could bring out their potential at the critical moment. Obviously, before Jiang Tian, there was no one who could make him bring out his potential. No one knew how powerful the destruction sword intent would be when it surpassed its own limits. But right now, the result would be revealed. Boom. With Yi Chen as the starting point, a beam of black sword intent shot out into the sky. It did not break through the giant symbol ball, but it had messed up the natural will inside, breaking away from Jiang Tian's control. Under the black sword intent, Yi Chen looked like a destructive sword artist. His whole body was covered in that destructive chi. Wherever he went, any will that tried to attack him would be destroyed. Although he was not the dominator of this place, he was the destroyer of this place, and was above the dominator. What? The natural will has been broken? Jiang Tian looked shocked for the first time. The giant symbol ball was his ace attack, and even the Shadow Ghost Bat King had been trapped by it for a while, allowing him to escape easily. He did not think that Yi Chen would have the same power as the Shadow Ghost Bat King. It was obvious that Yi Chen had used his sword intent to break through his natural will, making the giant symbol ball imperfect. Moreover, the Shadow Ghost Bat King did not know anything about it at all, so it had broken through it with brute force. Crack. The natural will had been messed up, and the symbols on the giant symbol ball started to become unstable. Seizing the chance, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack. The dark gold light pierced through the giant symbol ball, shooting towards Jiang Tian. Seal. A huge amount of symbols gathered into a shield. Jiang Tian controlled the shield from a distance, putting it in front of his body. With a bang, the glyph flew in all directions like moths burning with glazed flames. The dark golden light that had not yet dissipated hit Jiang Tian's defensive armor, causing him to lose control of his body and fly out involuntarily. In the end, he stumbled and fell on the ground, his back leaning against the stone wall. Cough cough. The dark gold light had consumed a part of its power to break through the giant symbol ball, and another part to break through the shield. The remaining power was not enough to break through Jiang Tian's defensive armor, but it was not good for him either. His chest felt heavy, and he could not help but cough out a couple of times. Squinting his eyes, a bone-chilling cold light appeared out of them as Jiang Tian said coldly, "It seems like I have underestimated you. I did not expect you to be able to break through my symbol's small world." His destruction sword intent had been pushed to its limit. Yi Chen walked out of the crumbling giant symbol ball and said coldly, "Does this mean that things are out of your control now?" "Not necessarily." His palm left a symbol palm print on the stone wall as Jiang Tian rushed towards Yi Chen at an extreme speed, throwing out a palm attack. Symbol killing palm, boom. A huge twisting symbol fell from the sky, covering Yi Chen within, trying to cover up Yi Chen's body. 5 sword attacks. Pointing out his right hand, the gold sword on Yi Chen's back came out of its scabbard automatically. It turned into 3, then 5. 5 sword shadows attacked towards that huge symbol palm power. An explosion was heard as the symbol palm power turned into a bright flame, burning the gold sword. Go. Yi Chen frowned as he waved his finger again. That slightly twisted gold sword shot out of the flame, flying towards Jiang Tian's head. Break. Jiang Tian grinned and reached out his right hand. A giant hand made of symbols grabbed the gold sword. The giant hand gripped the sword tightly. The sword was already damaged, and it was burned by the crystal flame. Instantly, it shattered into a few pieces, turning it into a piece of trash. At the same time, Jiang Tian silently chanted, "Rune-killing curse. Danger." Yi Chen's pupils shrank as he sensed countless tiny symbols attacking towards him with his soul power. Flashing his body, Yi Chen tried to dodge. However, he had underestimated these rune seals. These rune seals did not have a physical form, and they were all aimed at Yi Chen. In just a split second, several rune seals drilled into Yi Chen's brain and floated above his sea of soul, trying to destroy this sea of soul. This is a soul attack. Yi Chen was shocked. It was his first time facing a soul attack, and it was not a normal one either. It was a soul attack martial art that was made up of soul power. It was a secret martial art that even life and death realm warriors might not have such a high-level soul attack martial art. As the symbols were activated, Yi Chen's soul ocean started to churn. Die. The destruction sword spirit, which had been treating the soul ocean as its own territory, was activated. Countless destructive sword intents attacked towards the symbols, destroying them completely. But very quickly, even more runes and curses invaded. You really think that I am powerless? Yi Chen's eyes were filled with killing intent as his destruction sword spirit turned from being extremely quiet to being extremely active. It traveled quickly above Yi Chen's soul ocean. Wherever it went, pieces of symbols were destroyed. Yi Chen's soul ocean was already 5 times bigger than normal people's, so how could it be destroyed so easily? Of course, he would not be stupid enough to let his opponent do whatever he wanted. Therefore, he activated his destruction sword spirit right away, using it to destroy the symbols. Such a powerful sword spirit. Jiang Tian could sense that the symbols that he had activated were being destroyed one by one. They did not work as they should, and activating the symbols had drained his soul power. Even if he did not want to admit it, he had to admit that the symbol killing spell did not work on Yi Chen. These two. Dantai Mingyue's red lips opened as a shocked expression appeared in her eyes. The two's power was within her estimation, so she was not that surprised. However, Jiang Tian's symbol killing spell had frightened her. With normal attacks, even if she could not handle it, she would still be able to leave easily. But, soul attacks were impossible to avoid. For the warriors at the current stage, it would be a fatal attack. Only after reaching the life and death realm would they be able to study the mysteries of the soul and strengthen their soul defense. But obviously, Yi Chen had blocked out Jiang Tian's soul attack. She could not imagine how powerful his soul was. Blood-severing ghost finger. After destroying all the symbols, Yi Chen pointed his finger at Jiang Tian. Maybe it was because of the increase of his killing intent, Or maybe it was because Jiang Tian had stimulated Yi Chen's battle intent, but as Yi Chen waved his finger, a ghostly figure in white appeared behind him. According to the introduction of the blood-severing ghost finger, only after reaching the minor realm could one condense a ghostly figure. And Dragon King's blood-severing ghost finger was only at the minor realm. Unfortunately, the ghostly figure had only appeared for a second before disappearing, as if it had never appeared before. That was why it did not attract Jiang Tian and Dantai Mingyue's attention. However, the power of the blood-severing ghost finger had shocked Dantai Mingyue once again, while Jiang Tian was a little frightened. A white ghostly claw had ignored his defense and reached deep into his body, drawing out a thick bloody light. Blood-severing secret art. Jiang Tian coldly glanced at Yi Chen, and quickly fled to the stone room's entrance. His blood and qi had been reduced by a lot in an instant. If he continued to fight, the consequences would be unimaginable. Yi Chen did not plan to let him go. He took the opportunity to perform 2 more blood-severing ghost finger, causing Jiang Tian's qi to weaken. Jiang Tian left the stone room. Yi Chen chased after him. There is always a higher mountain. Unfortunately, Yi Chen is still the highest mountain. Standing where she was, Dantai Mingyue shook her head. Yi Chen had been a famous figure for several years now. During this period, many people had challenged him, but all of them had failed. Even Dugu Ju, who was equally famous as her, had suffered setbacks time and time again. If there could only be one monstrous genius in each generation, then Yi Chen would undoubtedly be that monstrous genius. Yi Chen, I will make you fall. While flying, Jiang Tian saw that Yi Chen was still chasing after him. His voice was extremely cold. Yi Chen said, I remember you said that before. You think you can kill me? A pair of rune wings appeared on Jiang Tian's back. With a flap of the wings, his speed suddenly increased, leaving Yi Chen far behind. Speed is also my advantage. Jiang Tian was indeed well-rounded and did not have any weaknesses. But he was facing Yi Chen, who also had no weaknesses. A flying sword landed under Yi Chen's feet, carrying him as he chased after Jiang Tian. Tricked. What Yi Chen could not see was Jiang Tian's cruel smile. When he left the stone room, his jade token had suddenly sensed Windstorm King's qi. Now he was getting closer to Windstorm King. With Windstorm King's power, killing Yi Chen would be a piece of cake. Although it would make him feel a bit regretful that he could not kill Yi Chen with his own hands. Chapter 735. The two were not only moving at an extremely fast speed, but every turn, every acceleration, and every deceleration were perfectly timed. It was as if they had gone through the most precise measurements. Yi Chen relied on his powerful soul, while Jiang Tian relied on his control of the environment around him. Go. With 5 times more soul power than normal people, Yi Chen was able to move with ease. He continued to calculate his movement while controlling his flying swords to attack Jiang Tian. Obviously, Jiang Tian was just as good at calculating his movement. He kept waving his palm to block out the flying swords, making clanking sounds. Is it Tian? Who is chasing after him? 1,000 meters away, the skinny elder took out the jade tag from his storage ring. On the tag, the red dot was flashing at an extremely fast speed, which meant that Jiang Tian was moving at a high speed. Otherwise, the red dot would not be flashing at such a fast speed. No matter who it is, he is dead for sure. The skinny elder squinted his eyes, a cold light flashing in his eyes. In his opinion, the one chasing after Jiang Tian must be a famous half-step king warrior. Although Jiang Tian's spell was a killing attack, the half-step king warrior's soul was already in a metamorphosis state, which meant that the spell would not be able to help Jiang Tian kill his opponent's soul. It would at most wound his soul. With his own power, Jiang Tian would only be about the same as a normal half-step king warrior. Putting away the jade tag, the skinny elder's body flashed, disappearing from where he was standing like a gust of wind. Yi Chen realized that Dantai Mingyue had already left the stone room with the extreme rank beast power crystals. The Iron Hand King walked out, shaking his head as he said with a low voice, "There must be a lot of treasures in the Grey Wolf King's pellet-making room. I wonder who took them. If I had come earlier, I would have been able to kill this person and take all the treasures. The stone room had been through a huge battle, so it was impossible for the Iron Hand King not to notice it. Since it was able to cause such a huge battle, the treasures inside must be extraordinary. Hopefully, my luck will be better from now on. Activating his Zhen Yuan, the Iron Hand King flew toward the other side of the tunnel, where Yi Chen and Jiang Tian had been. Yi Chen, your death is coming. On the other side of the wall, Jiang Tian had already sensed Elder Feng's presence. Once he sensed it, he immediately stopped and turned around, looking at Yi Chen with a cold expression. Is that all you know how to do? Yi Chen didn't have Jiang Tian's ability to control part of the heaven and earth, and in the graveyard, his soul power wasn't that useful either. He activated his soul eyes and scanned around. Soon, he saw a figure flying towards him through the wall. Although he couldn't see it clearly, from Jiang Tian's expression, he could tell that it was the skinny Storm King. Rumble. The Wind Storm King didn't choose to take a detour at all. He directly broke the wall and appeared in Yi Chen's sight. When he was about to say something, he saw lightning flashing in front of him. A black light ball that had been compressed to the extreme shot toward him. Knowing that the other party was a foe and not a friend, Yi Chen could not be bothered to waste his breath. He sent a compressed devour of lightning at the other party before turning around and flying away. Puff. Waving his hand to blow out the black light ball, the Windstorm King sneered, "Do you think you can get away?" As he spoke, the Windstorm King waved his hand and countless wind walls appeared at the end of the tunnel, blocking Yi Chen's way. This Windstorm King's power. I am afraid he is not weaker than the Punish King. Yi Chen broke through one wind wall after another. However, the speed of the wind wall's formation was way too fast. Every time he broke one, another one would already be formed, which seemed to be endless. Tian, what is going on? Blocking Yi Chen's way, the Windstorm King didn't attack right away. He was curious, since Yi Chen was only at peak level mid-sea of Soul's realm. Normally, he shouldn't be able to fight against Jiang Tian. But based on what had happened before, it was obviously Yi Chen who was chasing after Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian's expression was not good as he said, "He is not weak at all. My symbol killing spell does not work on him at all. Plus, he knows a secret art that can cut off my chi and blood, which ignores my defense." Cut off chi and blood. Could it be the blood-severing ghost finger? Windstorm King immediately thought of Dragon King's blood-severing ghost finger. This finger art was extremely strange, disregarding defense and rules. In terms of lethality, it wasn't inferior to the rune extermination curse in the slightest. If cultivated to greater completion, one could even kill ordinary life and death kings with the strength of a half-step king. Little brother, hand over the blood-severing ghost finger, and I will let you go. A light flashed in the Windstorm King's eyes as he thought of a plan. Elder Feng. Jiang Tian did not plan to let Yi Chen leave alive. He was different from the other arrogant martial geniuses. What he wanted was the result. If he could kill Yi Chen with his own hands, it would be the best. If not, then he would kill him no matter what. What is the rush? Let's get the blood-severing ghost finger first, then kill him. The Windstorm King said with a Zhen Yuan transmission. Get the blood-severing ghost finger? Jiang Tian suddenly understood. He then nodded slightly and said to Yi Chen with a smile, "Right now, you only have one choice. Hand over the blood-severing ghost finger. Otherwise, you will die." Blood-severing ghost finger. You guys know about it too? Yi Chen's expression did not change. The Windstorm King touched his beard and said, "The famous blood-severing ghost finger. Who doesn't know about it? I, the Windstorm King, will keep my words. Hand over the blood-severing ghost finger, and I will let you live." He thought to himself, there is no need to keep promises to dead people. This is the law of the jungle. All right. Yi Chen agreed without hesitation. What? The Windstorm King and Jiang Tian were a bit surprised. The blood-severing ghost finger was so important, and he had agreed without even thinking about it. It was hard for them to believe. But then, they got angry. Yi Chen had just finished talking when he waved his finger at the two, taking away a lot of their chi and blood. Especially Jiang Tian, who had already lost a lot of chi and blood. Now that he was attacked again, his legs went soft and he almost fell onto the ground. Shoo! While the Windstorm King's chi and blood were in chaos and his control was greatly reduced, Yi Chen activated his flying sword and broke through several wind walls, breaking out of the encirclement. You are looking for death. The Windstorm King was furious. He threw out a palm attack at Yi Chen from a distance. The horrifying whirlwind palm attack did not have a trace at all as it landed on Yi Chen's back. Boom! The muddy sky armor could not stop this powerful palm attack at all. Yi Chen felt that his internal organs had been shifted instantly. His bones were broken in dozens of places, and he puked out a mouthful of blood along with pieces of his internal organs. All of a sudden, he had suffered an unprecedented injury. If a normal top master took this kind of attack, they would die without a doubt. Heh! Still not dead. The Windstorm King chased closely. Seeing that Yi Chen was still running away, he could not help but be shocked. He would not have thought that Yi Chen had the undying body, and his life force was terrifyingly strong. Let's see if you will die or not. The Windstorm King threw out another palm attack on Yi Chen's back. Yi Chen, who had no time to dodge, was like a broken sack as he fiercely slammed into the wall at the end of the passage. On his left and right, there was a passage. In the passage on the left, Iron Hand King flew over. Seeing Yi Chen being heavily injured, he was quite astonished. He sensed slightly and immediately knew who had attacked. Windstorm King, Iron Hand King, have a big gift for you. Iron Hand King was quite unwilling to not kill Yi Chen's group last time. Now that the opportunity was right in front of him, he planned to kill Yi Chen first and then seize his storage ring. Bang! Iron Hand King punched out, and a huge iron fist landed on Yi Chen's body from the side. Iron Hand King, this graveyard will also be your grave. After suffering 3 heavy injuries in a row, Yi Chen felt his life force rapidly depleting. Relying on his astonishing willpower, he forcibly propped up his body and flew toward the passage on the right. Impossible! Both Windstorm King and Iron Hand King were astonished. They were not ordinary half-step kings, but well-known figures among half-step kings. The gap between them and peak half-step kings wasn't that big. Not to mention a peak C of Soul Realm expert, even an ordinary half-step king wouldn't be able to survive. However, Yi Chen had managed to survive. Especially since they could already feel that many of Yi Chen's internal organs were shattered, his meridians were severed, and his bones were mostly broken. Logically speaking, even walking should be difficult. However, Yi Chen was still able to fly at an extreme speed. Compared to before, it was as if he was erupting with the last of his life force. Only Yi Chen knew what was going on. The immortal body gave him an astonishing life force, but the immortal body alone couldn't allow him to fly at high speed when he was seriously injured and on the verge of death. He relied on his well-tempered will. What was the ability to survive? It was the amazing will to survive in a situation where death was certain. In the Dragon God Celestial Palace's secret pavilion, there was a secret art called Survival-Seeking Tao. Those who cultivated Survival-Seeking Tao would have an extremely strong will to survive under any circumstances. Yi Chen didn't choose Survival-Seeking Tao because he believed that he wouldn't give up under any circumstances. Therefore, it didn't mean much to him whether he chose it or not. Relying on his terrifying willpower, he ignored his shattered internal organs, his broken meridians, and even ignored the fact that his broken bones couldn't support his body. He crazily dashed in another form of life. In this kind of situation, his speed increased without slowing down. This kid can't be left alive. Windstorm King and Iron Hand King sucked in a deep breath, unconcealable killing intent leaking out of their eyes. Die. The two released a killing move together. The Berserk Chi energy scraped off a thick layer of the seemingly indestructible wall before fiercely slamming into Yi Chen's back. Yi Chen's back caved in, and his broken bones pierced into his internal organs. The armor let out creaking sounds as if it would shatter at any moment. Yi Chen roared and forcefully swallowed the blood. At this moment, he couldn't let go of even a single breath. As for these two, he had to kill them. However, before that, he had to find a place to raise his cultivation base to late sea of Soul Realm. Windstorm King and Iron Hand King were not Jiang Tian, nor were they Yi Chen. In the narrow passage, their speed was greatly restricted. Moreover, Yi Chen and Jiang Tian's speed was not much lower than theirs. Therefore, after going through dozens of passages, they lost track of Yi Chen. This kid is really fucking strange. Iron Hand King was both startled and angry. At this moment, Windstorm King was instead relaxed. He inwardly laughed. So what if Yi Chen managed to escape? Would he be afraid of the latter's revenge? It would be fine if the latter didn't take revenge. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to return. The monk can escape, but the temple can't. He still has companions. As long as we capture them, he won't be able to cause any big waves. Windstorm King couldn't forget about the blood-severing ghost finger. I'm not afraid of him. Even if he recovers, so what? I can crush him to death with one hand. Iron Hand King grinned. Chapter 736. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. An intense wind blew past Yi Chen's ears. At this moment, Yi Chen couldn't even open his eyes. The whole world was incomparably silent. He couldn't hear anything, and he didn't want to care about anything. He only wanted to sleep for a while, and it would be best if he never woke up. Not good. After biting the tip of his tongue for the umpteenth time, Yi Chen tried his best to use the pain to wake himself up. Then, he stuffed a yuan qi replenishing pellet into his mouth. Shaking his head, Yi Chen felt that his thoughts had slowed down a lot. At this moment, even an ordinary Sea of Soul Master could knock him down in one strike. My strength is still too weak. Since I've reached this point, there is no such thing as a peak master level opponent. My true opponents are half-step kings. If I want to leave this graveyard alive, if I want to make a name for myself and not be looked down upon, I can only increase my strength. At this moment, the only thought in Yi Chen's mind was to find a place to heal. If he didn't, he would die soon. After healing, he didn't plan to act immediately. Instead, he would try his best to break through to late Sea of Soul Realm. When he had enough strength, it would not be too late to leave. However, the problem at hand was that he couldn't find a good place to train. He didn't want to find a random place to heal, which would make him die even faster. Seems like geniuses also need enough luck. Let's hope I can find a place to train as soon as possible. Yi Chen smiled self-mockingly, feeling that he wouldn't be able to hold on much longer. Reality proved that Yi Chen's luck was quite good. After half a cup of tea's time, just as Yi Chen was about to collapse, he found a stone chamber. The stone door of this chamber moved up and down, and there was a mechanism to open the door. Without any hesitation, Yi Chen smashed the switch, and the stone door slowly rose up. With a swish, Yi Chen rushed in and closed the door. All these years of luck accumulation did not go to waste. As the last thought flashed through his mind, Yi Chen fainted. Before he fainted, the undying body had already begun to take effect, continuously healing his internal injuries from the inside out. The pills that he had swallowed had turned into streams of vital energy, providing the undying body with a source of energy. After all, the undying body also needed to consume energy. Murong Qingcheng, who was far away, frowned, and a worried look appeared on her face. She faintly felt that something related to her was being threatened, and it made her very uncomfortable. No matter how she thought about it, only Yi Chen could make her feel uneasy. But very quickly, Murong Qingcheng heaved a sigh of relief. The uneasiness in her heart automatically dissipated. Perhaps Yi Chen was already out of danger. After an unknown period of time, Yi Chen woke up from his slumber. He took out the water bottle from his storage ring and realized that 3 days had passed. 3 days. Letting out a sigh, Yi Chen started to check his injuries. What made him slightly happy was that his injuries, which were close to death, had already recovered by 30%, and he had a certain amount of combat strength. This was because the elixirs that replenished his vitality had already been used up. If someone had fed him elixirs in these 3 days, it was very likely that his injuries would have recovered by more than 50%. Fortunately, I'm out of danger now. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Yi Chen looked around. After discovering that the stone chamber was empty, he no longer paid attention to it. Grabbing another handful of elixirs, he stuffed them into his mouth. While unconscious, the undying body would automatically operate. After waking up, Yi Chen could actively operate the undying body, increasing his recovery speed by several folds. Another 2 days passed, and Yi Chen's body had recovered to 90%. Almost there. This bit of injury won't affect me much. Next, I'll break through to late Sea of Soul Realm with all my strength. Breaking through from the peak of mid-Sea of Soul Realm to late Sea of Soul Realm was extremely difficult. It could be said that it was 2 to 3 times more difficult than breaking through from the peak of early Sea of Soul Realm to mid-Sea of Soul Realm. If one were to say that there were 100 Sea of Soul Realm experts, 60 would be at early Sea of Soul Realm, 38 would be at mid-Sea of Soul Realm, and as for late Sea of Soul Realm, only 2 or 3 would be at most, which was only 2 to 3%. One could imagine how difficult it would be to reach late Sea of Soul Realm. If not for the fact that Yi Chen had already touched the barrier of late Sea of Soul Realm, he wouldn't have thought of breaking through immediately. After all, it was too unrealistic. How could breaking through realms be so easy? Of course, once he broke through, the benefits would be enormous. The state of being one with the world lasted even longer, roughly 2 to 3 times longer than the time it took to break through from the peak of early Sea of Soul Realm to mid-Sea of Soul Realm. With such a state, Yi Chen had a premonition that all his profounds would improve greatly. With his meridians almost fully repaired, Yi Chen sucked in a deep breath and entered the ethereal state, slowly operating his Jin Yuan and making a great circulation. As his Jin Yuan circulated, a cyan radiance appeared around Yi Chen's body, making him look like a cyan statue. That night, although Yi Chen didn't operate the undying body intentionally, his injuries were completely healed without any mishap. Moreover, after this near-death experience, the strength of Yi Chen's body had greatly increased, as if he had been reborn from a bath of blood. His essence, qi, and soul were even more powerful and abundant than before. Letting out a breath of impure qi, Yi Chen paused his cultivation and took a pear from the fire pear tree in his plant ring, fiercely taking a bite. The red crystal-like pear was crisp and tender, and its flesh melted in his mouth, nourishing his body and slowly increasing his body's strength. This fire pear tree needs to be nurtured properly. Unfortunately, I don't have any spirit tree nutrient fluid. Mid-grade spirit tree nutrient fluid could be used for 100 years in 1 year. In other words, using mid-grade spirit tree nutrient fluid to nurture a fire pear tree could increase its maturity by 100 years. Peak mid-grade spirit tree nutrient fluid could increase it by 200 years in 1 year. If it were upper-grade spirit tree nutrient fluid, it would be even more amazing. 1 year could be used for 500 years, or even 600 or 700 years. Only 10 years would be needed to turn a several thousand-year-old fire pear tree into a 10,000-year-old one. A 10,000 years old upper-grade fire pear tree was several times more precious than a supreme-grade artifact. There were at least 5,000 fire pears growing out of it, and the effect of each pear was more or less the same as a Sea of Soul Realm spirit crystal stone. It was extremely astonishing. Of course, the current fire pear tree wasn't bad either. It was more than 3,000 years old, and dozens of fire pears were equivalent to a Sea of Soul Realm spirit crystal stone. The longer it was eaten, the greater the effect would be. Spirit tree nutrient fluid is not easy to refine. I'll try my luck in the auction later. Yi Chen had a lot of upper-grade spirit stones on him, as well as some extremely valuable treasures such as soul stones. Encountering an upper-grade spirit tree nutrient fluid, Yi Chen couldn't let go of it. After resting for a while, Yi Chen continued cultivating. While Yi Chen was cultivating, a portion of people had already arrived at Firebird King's graveyard. Ghostwood King and Gopher King were among them. Ghostwood King and Gopher King had entered Grey Wolf King's graveyard a day later than Yi Chen and the rest. Unfortunately, their luck wasn't good, and they didn't gain anything. Thus, they could only give up on the graveyard and enter Firebird King's graveyard to try their luck. As demonic beasts, they greatly hoped to obtain the inherited demonic arts of the 4 demonic kings. I wonder who has the second key? Gopher King muttered. Zun-O. Armored King signaled Xia Hozuan. Yes. Xia Hozuan didn't intend to monopolize Firebird King's graveyard. With so many people guarding here, he simply couldn't afford to waste time. Moreover, once the graveyard was opened, it couldn't be closed, and others could enter as well. Thus, he might as well open the graveyard openly. Why is it the young generation again? Many people revealed doubtful expressions. The first key was in Jiang Qian's hands, and the second was in Xia Hozuan's hands. They suspected that the third and fourth keys' owners would also be youngsters. There seemed to be some sort of rule that allowed the youngsters to obtain the keys. Creak. Firebird King's graveyard's entrance loudly opened. Let's go in. Firebird King is a bit stronger than Grey Wolf King, so he should have more treasures. I hope my luck is good. Everyone gathered here entered Firebird King's graveyard one after another. While flying, Gopher King said to Ghostwood King, I wonder if those people have come here. It would be best if we can bump into them. Ghostwood King said, this time, we won't let them escape. We can kill them one by one. Right. I suspect that the kid you're fighting also has a great treasure. Gopher King's small eyes revealed an ominous glint. Several hours later, Windstorm King Jiang Tian and Iron Hand King also appeared. That kid might be dead. Iron Hand King didn't think that Yi Chen could survive after suffering such heavy injuries. For him, death is better. Living would be more painful. Haha, indeed. The three put aside Yi Chen's matter and entered Firebird King's graveyard. Soon, Qing Liu and Yang Fengfeng also appeared. I wonder how Yi Chen and the rest are doing. Frowning, Qing Liu and Yang Fengfeng's figures flickered, entering the second graveyard. Time passed bit by bit, and Yi Chen finally reached the crucial moment. He could feel that the Zhen Yuan in his body was showing signs of transformation. It was like an undercurrent under a calm ocean, ready to erupt with a huge potential at any time and raise a huge wave. If I don't use it now, then when? Yi Chen had once killed Murong Qingqing's eldest uncle, the extremely ambitious Murong Wang, and obtained 7 supreme-grade spirit stones. Supreme-grade spirit stones were used by life and death kings for cultivation. The yuan qi contained within them was astonishing, and each one had a huge value. Previously, Yi Chen was reluctant to use them. But now, he had no choice but to use them. Taking out a supreme-grade spirit stone, Yi Chen held it in his palm and absorbed the energy within. Supreme-grade spirit stones were worthy of being called supreme-grade spirit stones. They didn't need to be refined at all, and could be directly absorbed. Instantly, the Zhen Yuan in Yi Chen's body thickened. Although the absorbed Zhen Yuan couldn't become his permanent Zhen Yuan and was an external force that would gradually dissipate if he couldn't break through, without a doubt, this external force increased Yi Chen's chances of breaking through to late Sea of Soul Realm. Break! Roaring inwardly, Yi Chen summoned his Zhen Yuan and attacked that non-existent barrier. Chapter 737. The first impact loosened the incorporeal barrier a bit, showing signs of disintegration. The second impact intensified this trend. However, Yi Chen knew that this was an extremely long process. If he could break through with just 1 or 2 impacts, it would be too much of a joke. As the saying goes, the first spurt of energy, the second spurt of energy, the third spurt of exhaustion. After 2 impacts, Yi Chen didn't immediately break through. Instead, he stored up some energy and began a new round of impacts. Each time, there were only 2 impacts. Yi Chen had to endure until the limit. Only then would he be able to erupt with a greater effect. 5 impact. 6 impact. 10 impact. 20 impact. 30 impact. Unknowingly, the indicator beside him pointed to the next morning. Meanwhile, Yi Chen's entire body was drenched in sweat. His spirit was extremely excited, and he faintly felt a trace of morbid exhaustion. Success or failure will be decided here. Yi Chen, who had been deliberately suppressing the number of impacts, sucked in a deep breath and began a new round of impacts. Once, twice. After 2 times, Yi Chen didn't stop. He continued the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, all the way to the 11th time. He still had energy left over. This was the energy he had accumulated throughout the night. It was no small matter, and it was something Yi Chen had long since planned. Break for me. After the 12th impact, Yi Chen seemed to hear something shattering. Unfortunately, This process only lasted for a blink of an eye, and he couldn't break through in one go. Gathering his remaining energy, Yi Chen clenched his teeth and launched the 13th impact. As if competing with Yi Chen, the incorporeal barrier clearly cracked, but it didn't break through. It was firmly stuck there like a heavy shackle. After the 15th impact, Yi Chen felt exhausted. This was intolerable. If he gave up now, it would be equivalent to giving up all his previous efforts. A night's worth of effort would be wasted. Most importantly, if he lost this opportunity, Yi Chen wouldn't have the confidence to break through to late sea of Soul Realm in a short time. 16th time. Biting his lips until they bled, veins popping out on Yi Chen's forehead. 17th time. Yi Chen's eyes started to redden. 18th time. Raw. 18 consecutive attacks had already surpassed Yi Chen's limits. If he didn't succeed this time, he would die trying. He couldn't help but roar. The sound waves spread in all directions, causing dust to fly up and fill the entire stone chamber. Yi Chen, who was in the middle of the stone chamber, could only see a faint shadow. His aura was like stagnant water, without any fluctuations. It was extremely strange. All of a sudden, boom, a vast and boundless true essence fluctuation shot up into the sky, twisting the dust in the air into nothingness. This true essence fluctuation far surpassed the true essence Yi Chen had before. Whether it was rich or pure, it wasn't on the same level, it had reached a whole new level. Late sea of Soul Realm. Breakthrough successful. Success. Even with Yi Chen's temperament, he couldn't control his emotions. He was extremely excited. This breakthrough had been too difficult. He had spent an entire night accumulating energy, and at the last moment, he had almost failed. If he hadn't withstood the pressure, if he hadn't surpassed his limits, the chances of failure would have been as high as 90%. But all of this was over. Right now, his cultivation base was at late sea of Soul Realm. Although he was happy, Yi Chen didn't get carried away. Breaking through to late sea of Soul Realm didn't mean that he would immediately have a late sea of Soul Realm cultivation base. The Zhen Yuan within his body hadn't completely transformed, and the compatibility between his body and Zhen Yuan hadn't reached a perfect state. The first thing he had to do was stabilize his cultivation base and gradually adapt to the new Zhen Yuan. Of course, the most important thing was comprehending the profounds. Slowly letting out a breath of impure qi, Yi Chen closed his eyes again and entered the state of being one with the world. He automatically operated his Zhen Yuan and stabilized his cultivation base while comprehending all sorts of profounds. This was the best time to comprehend profounds. If he missed this chance, who knew when he would have the chance again? So, thunder profounds can be deduced like this. Under the state of being one with the world, Yi Chen's comprehension and deduction ability reached the pinnacle. Naturally, an illusory lightning appeared in his mind. The lightning existed in various forms, containing extremely high thunder profounds. And, Yi Chen was able to clearly observe the thunder profounds within the lightning. 60%. 70%. Before, Yi Chen's thunder profound had only been comprehended to 50% completion. But now, it had continued to climb, reaching 70% completion. What kind of concept was this? It should be known that the thunder profound was only at 99% completion, and 70% completion was not far from it. If nothing unexpected happened, the thunder devour, which contained the thunder profound, would gradually approach a high-rank profound martial skill. It would be more than twice as powerful as before, or even several times more powerful. Crack. Without opening his eyes, Yi Chen subconsciously reached out a finger and pointed out in the air. With a thunderous sound, a hole appeared on the stone wall in front of him. The edge of the hole was burnt black, looking like a crystal. Gold profounds, unstoppable. Since his thunder profounds could not progress any further, Yi Chen switched to the gold profounds. Although Yi Chen's gold profounds had once been left behind by the thunder profounds, Yi Chen, who had a natural affinity with the gold profounds, had comprehended the gold profounds far more than the thunder profounds. In just a short while, the gold profounds had climbed from 40% to 50%, quickly reaching 80%. It was extremely close to greater completion. Puff. Pointing out his finger as well, A dark golden ripple appeared on his fingertip. It was like a dark golden flower quietly blossoming, leaving numerous marks on the stone walls. It was not over yet, as Yi Chen flicked out the other fingers of his right hand, causing dark golden flowers to blossom one after another. It was as if he was performing a magic trick. Under his control, the metal profound had become soft and flexible, which was a sign that he was close to reaching the completion of it. At this point, Yi Chen's thunder profounds and gold profounds had reached 70% and 80% respectively. Thunder Devour and Gold Ripple, which contained these two profounds, had also taken a huge step forward. Their might was not far from high-grade profound martial skills. Moreover, Yi Chen's cultivation base had advanced greatly, breaking through to late Sea of Soul Realm. With these three factors added together, Yi Chen's strength had sharply increased. Ordinary half-step kings could be killed in an instant, like cutting melons and vegetables. Even well-known half-step kings wouldn't be his opponent. If he were to encounter Ghostwood King or Iron Hand King again, he would make them suffer on the spot. So much so that Yi Chen could rely on his powerful undying body to fight a peak half-step king. As for who would win and who would die, it was still unknown. Spiritual sword has been used for a long time. This time, I should be able to shine brilliantly. After comprehending thunder profounds and gold profounds, Yi Chen hadn't forgotten his previous killing move, Spiritual Sword. Spiritual Sword contained two profounds, wood profounds and fast profounds. Because he had spent a lot of time on other profounds, his wood profounds had only reached minor completion, and so had his fast profounds. The reason why he didn't like Spiritual Sword was because this move was different from other sword moves. Adding fast profounds wouldn't increase the might of Spiritual Sword, but only make it faster. Of course, under the condition that the quality didn't change, the faster the speed, the greater the might. However, these two profounds weren't what Yi Chen was good at. Therefore, it put Yi Chen in a bit of a dilemma. He didn't have enough time. Under the state of being one with the world, he didn't need to spend much time to greatly comprehend wood profounds and fast profounds. 40%, 50%, 60%, 40%, 50%. Soon, Yi Chen's wood profounds had reached 60% completion. The fast profounds, which were harder to comprehend, had also reached 50% completion. The power of Spiritual Sword, which contained these two profounds, suddenly increased sharply. It should be known that his thunder profounds were only at 70% completion. Now, his wood profounds had reached 60% completion, which was not much inferior to thunder profounds. Adding the fast profounds, its might immediately surpassed Thunder Devour, which contained thunder profounds. Apart from that, Spiritual Sword's attack speed was also much faster than Thunder Devour. Be it in terms of power or speed, Spiritual Sword had become more powerful. It could completely become one of Yi Chen's trump cards. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Raising his right hand's index and middle fingers, Yi Chen made a few strokes in the air. The opposite wall was covered with sword marks. With a rough look, there were hundreds of sword marks, and Yi Chen had only made a few strokes. Since he had favored fast profounds, Yi Chen naturally wouldn't forget about slow profounds. Slow profounds were much harder to comprehend than fast profounds. Previously, Yi Chen had just learned it and had only reached 20% completion. Now, taking advantage of the state of being one with the world, Yi Chen had successfully raised his slow profounds to the minor completion realm. His every movement was extremely slow, and time seemed to have slowed down as well. When the air came into contact with Yi Chen's fingers, it seemed to become extremely lazy. Without a doubt, this was a profound that could affect others. Although Yi Chen currently didn't have the ability to create an ultimate or killing move for the slow profounds, he had the foundation, and he would have plenty of opportunities in the future. Finally, the key point came. Without a doubt, Yi Chen's strongest sword move was the Gold Fury. Just like the Spiritual Sword, the Gold Fury contained two profounds, metal and water. However, even though they were both sword moves, the Spiritual Sword's power was far inferior to the Gold Fury's even though their profounds were at the same realm. This had nothing to do with the nature of the sword, it was just that they had different characteristics. The Spiritual Sword's most important aspect was its speed, while the Gold Fury's most important aspect was its destructive power. Of course, there was no need to comprehend the metal profounds. Yi Chen focused on the last profounds, the water profounds, which weren't his main profounds. Before this, the water profounds had just stepped into the minor completion realm. But soon, it broke through the minor completion realm and reached 40%, then 50%, and finally stopped at 60%. Yi Chen discovered that the further he went, the harder it was to comprehend. Although the water profounds weren't his main profounds, due to its low realm, he was able to improve it very quickly. On the other hand, the thunder profounds had only improved by 2 levels, because the starting point of the thunder profounds was too high. On the other hand, the metal profounds were very compatible with Yi Chen's body, so there was no need to mention how fast it improved. The metal profounds had reached 80% completion, and the water profounds had reached 60% completion. This was a shocking breakthrough. The Golden Hurricane, which contained these 2 profounds, was no longer a mid-grade profound sense martial skill, but a high-grade profound sense martial skill. Up until now, only Life and Death Kings could grasp high-grade profound sense martial skills. Chop! Yi Chen's sword finger slashed out, and a strange scene occurred. The sword chi released by the Gold Fury had changed. It was no longer a rippling light beam, but a crescent moon-shaped sword energy. Rumble! The walls of the stone chamber, which were several times harder than the walls of the passage, were slashed open with a peerless sword energy. Sucking in a deep breath, Yi Chen opened his eyes and saw this scene. After a while, he exclaimed, "Gold Fury is no longer suitable. I should change the name." You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.